Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Umineko Chapter 8. We are in a bit of a strange situation here. Everyone seems to be really nice, almost uncomfortably nice, and we had like a Christmas gift exchange for an early Halloween deal on like October 4th. Even Ange, being a literal 6-year-old, is confused at what the fuck is going on, as it doesn't seem natural. So if a 6-year-old picks up on something being suspicious, you can bet that you probably should have too. The cousins walked along the beach, playing in all kinds of ways. They searched for bits of glass, polished by the waves to become small and gem-like. They caught up on news of each other's lives and joked around. They wrote words in the sand. They chased the receding waves and ran away from the coming ones. The cousins enjoyed the time they had to themselves. Get back here, Mario. Oh, you won't be getting off this easy this time. No way, no way. Right, we're going to the beach scene after lunch, and things have gone swimmingly, almost too easily. You'll get hurt if you fall. Careful, you two. Feels like the wind's gotten stronger. Maybe we should head back soon? Right. I think the sky is getting cloudier too. Battler, Mario. I think we should call it a day soon and head back to the guest house for the time being. No way. I want to play some more. No, don't ignore your cousin. That's all for now. Here, I'll give you my glass gem. Really? Thanks, Battler. And now I have the most, so I win. Maria's the winner. Ange, are you okay? Yeah. What's wrong, Ange? You look a little down. He's just tired out. Come on, let's all head back together. Ange's expression probably did look tired, however, Battler alone thought he saw something else in it. What's wrong? Can you tell me? It's nothing. She said that, but something in her expression showed she was unsatisfied for some reason. Since Ange didn't say what it was, Battler couldn't think of anything. He was unable to guess anymore, so he squeezed her small hand, silently letting her know she could tell him whenever she was ready. Even though it seemed like such a bright, sunny day a second ago, the sky turned gray and the wind started feeling more annoying than pleasant. If they waited around, they'd probably see scattered raindrops as well soon. I guess it'll be raining the whole time from now on. What a pain. Still, even though it didn't last long, it was fun to be a kid again. I can't wait to show Mama this glass gem. I'll tell her I won. Even though you only won because I gave you mine. I got it, so it's mine. And so, I won. Very rational. Ange walked distractedly, pulled along by her brother. George and the others thought that she'd probably woken up too early and was tired, so they didn't try to talk to her much. As they reached the end of the forested path, the rose garden lay before them. They could see strong winds making the rose bushes wave. Mama, look. I'm looking, Maria. I won! Maria ran forward, waving her hands about and yelling. You know, I'm honestly not a big fan of like really, really little kids, but I think at least Maria's almost at the age where she's not super annoying. She's getting there. I feel more sorry for Rosa if it was like a 6-year-old. That'd be really irritating to deal with. Maria ran forward, waving her hands about and yelling. It looked as though Rosa was waving to them from the front of the guest house. I'm gonna head back to my room for a sec. Alright, catch you later. I'll meet you in the cousin room right after. Alright, catch you later, Jess. See you later then. Jessica ran off in the direction of the mansion. George turned around and as though suggesting they'd better get going too. However, when he saw Ange standing still with a crabby look on her face, he realized something might have put her in a bad mood. Is everything okay? Yeah, she's fine. Sorry, but would you mind going on ahead of us? Sure, you got it. See you later. George headed for the guest house. The only ones left in the rose garden were Battler, who was waving at George, and Ange, who was staring at the ground and holding Battler's hand. And Ange is probably thinking, why on earth did Battler do this for me? This doesn't seem realistic at all. The past few minutes he'd repeatedly asked Ange what was wrong. He realized this wasn't anything like a stomachache or something obvious that had made her grumpy. However, young girls sometimes get upset for reasons that only they can understand. People in general, I swear to God. Battler knew this, so he didn't rush her in any way. Continued to gaze around the beautiful rose garden holding her hand. Oni-chan. What is it? Where are we? She asked the question as though she was talking about something on the other side of the silver screen. Though Battler understood what the question meant, he played dumb. Where are we? We're on Rokkenjima, right? You're wrong. I'm not. How is this Rokkenjima? It's the Rokkenjima of October 4th, 1986. The Rokkenjima you wanted to see for so long. That's a lie. Why do you say that? This is totally fake. Ange wrenched her hand from her brother's grip. The hand hit a rose and sent flower petals flying. Oh, I don't lie. How is this supposed to be the truth? Ange spat those words out, however Battler's expression remained calm and composed. Well, what don't you like about it? Ikshiromia Kinzo, for example. He's nothing like that, right? What grandfather wouldn't smile when he's been reunited with his grandchildren after a long time? Ikshiromia Kinzo wasn't that kind of person. Ikshiromia Kinzo is strict, discontented, short-tempered, and quick to anger. So you do understand. What was all that back there? How's that supposed to be Kinzo? Halloween? Exchanging presents? The hell was that? That's nothing like Kinzo. That's nothing like Rokkenjima. Don't you remember, Ange? Remember what? We did that every year, didn't we? Every year? That? Well, I guess it's no surprise. Last time you went to a family conference, you were less than 6 years old.
覚えてなくても無理はない。
It's only natural you wouldn't remember.
覚えてなくてもって。
Only natural I don't remember. Ange understood what her brother was trying to say. However, she couldn't
後宮
accept it.
金蔵は確かに厳しい人だったさ。
It's true, Kinzo was a rigid
若かった
man.
時は相当きつく
When he was
息
younger,
子たちに当たってい
he
たら
really
し
was
い。
strict with his kids, apparently.
それが半ばトラウマになって、クソ親父たちが未だじい様のことをおっかながっていることは
It's probably not wrong to say that it was pretty traumatic for Dad and the others.
確
still a
か
bit
に
scared
外
of
れ
him.
じゃない。
The grand tale of how Kinzo restored the Ushirimiya family was more than enough to paint him as a rigid, terrifying man. Furthermore, Kinzo was an investor. All the legends and tales made him seem even more mysterious. It probably worked in his business's favor. At times, Kinzo may have even acted at the part people expected, endeavoring to make his presence all the more overpowering. That's why the world at large spoke of Ushirimiya Kinzo as a strict, short-tempered man. They even thought of him as fickle, bold, incomprehensible, and eccentric.
でもそれはじい様の外の顔だ。
That was just the face grandfather showed the world. Oh, here we go. Battler's
後宮家
conspiracy.
で親類一同水入らずで過ごす時の顔じゃない。
That's not how he acted in private alone with his family.
目尻を下げて孫たちを溺愛する涙腺の緩んだ老人が。
Are you trying to say that that weeping old man who doted on his grandchildren
後宮金蔵の
is the
本
real
当の
Ushirimiya
姿だって
Kinzo?
いうの。
I don't believe you.
エンジェだって遊んでもらったり頭を撫でてもらったりしたことがあ
He
るは
must
ず
have
だ。
played with you and patted your head many times. And? Does that mean he's that nice?
本当に覚えてないのか？
You really not remember? If there's nothing to remember. Stuff like that might have happened once or twice. You probably can't remember, but that must have been a mere whim of his. My parents told me this all the time. Grandfather's a terrifying person. Make sure you act properly. They always said he's very scary, so take care.
だから
That means he's just accusing your whole family of lying to you. You gonna take that one stand in there?
怖い人なのよ。
He's a scary person. You named your starter Pokemon after me? Well, I hope it's a ghost type.
幼いお前は親の言いつけを過剰に聞いて鵜呑みにする。
When you were little, you'd always accept whatever your parents said and take it too seriously.
悪く言えば思い込みの激しい
To
子
put
だ
it
った。
nicely, you're obedient. Putting it bluntly, though, you're a kid with an overactive imagination.
親父たちは行儀よくしてるようにと念を押していただけなんだ。
A water type instead? That's fair. Alright. Dan and the others were just trying to make you realize how important it was to be polite.
私見てたもん。
I saw it, though.
知ってたもん。
I knew about it. Your lies aren't holding her back.
後宮金蔵は恐ろしい人だって
I knew that Ishirimiya Kinzo was a scary person.
怒鳴ってるところを見たことがあるもん。
I've seen him yelling in anger.
私は覚えてる。忘れない。
I'll never forget it.
さっきも見た通りじい様は唐突なお人だ。
Well, just like you saw now, grandfather could be a bit abrupt at times.
ひょっとすると何かを驚かそうとし
He
た
might
の
have
か
been
もし
trying
れ
to
ない。
surprise you.
あるいは親たちとの真剣な議論の中で
Maybe it
つい
slipped
怒鳴っ
out
てし
when
ま
he
っ
was
たこと
having
もあっ
a
たかもしれない。
serious discussion with his kids. Battler, trying to pull the wool over a 6-year-old's eyes. You're not getting any points out of me for this, dude.
それを私が勝手に怯えて
And you think, I got scared for no reason. That's what that's the shit he's selling you.
勝手にそうだと思い込んだっ
I
てい
got
う
the
の。
wrong idea.
そんなはずないわ。そんなはずない。
It's not true.
だって私は覚えてるもの。
I still
忘れ
remember.
ちゃんと見たわ。後宮金蔵が怒鳴ってる恐ろしいところ。
I remember. I remember it. I know I saw Ushirimiya Kinzo yelling and being scared.
父さんも母さんも怯えていたわ。だからわかるの。私はわかる。
Mom and Dad were scared too. I know I'm right.
幼いお前が抱いたじいさまの印象はそのまま残り、お前の成長とともに膨らんだ。
The impression you had of grandfather when you were young remained with you, and that impression grew inside you as you grew up. How many times did NJ see Kinzo in her life? How old was she the last time she saw him? NJ, who got sick easily when under pressure, couldn't have gone to Rokkenjima often. Since she was absent for the family conference and she was 6, her last memories of him must have come when she was just 5 years old. Incorrect. Her last memories of him could not have been when he was 5. Battler, what are you smoking? You knew he was dead all along. It's when he was just 4.
お兄ちゃんだって
Even you haven't seen Ushirimiya Kinzo
6年間
for 6 years.
後宮金蔵には会ってないじゃない。
そうだな。
That's right.
でも6年ぶりに帰ってきて、
When I finally came back after 6
じいさ
years,
まは6年経っても全く
I
変わ
saw
ってなかった
grandfather
って
hadn't
知った
changed
ぜ。
in the slightest. What is this guy trying to... He's trying to sell NJ the fact that his shit doesn't smell. It's so sketchy.
金蔵は気まぐれで何を考えてるかわからなくて。
Kinzo was fickle. So fickle you could never understand what he was thinking. I mean, I don't think I understand how NJ has such a good memory for someone who last saw a guy when they were 4 years old. But I also don't know why Battler is trying so desperately to lie to a 6-year-old. It's like, no matter what, it just looks bad for everybody, right? Like there's no looking good here. You just look bad, Battler.
不気味なオカルト趣味の鬼人で。
He's an eccentric with a creepy love for the occult. Probably also true, honestly.
オカルト趣味なのは間違いない。
It's true he had a love for the occult.
妖精の趣味にしちゃちょいと珍しいものだったのは事
It
実
was
だ。
a bit of a strange hobby for him to get into in his final years.
その不気味な収集品で孫を怖がらせてからかう悪い趣味があったことは
I'll admit,
俺も認める。
his hobby of collecting strange objects to scare his grandchildren and laugh at them wasn't exactly praiseworthy. Even Battler had been pranked by Kinzo in the past. He'd do things like showing off an attache case with 7 strange stakes in it, and say something about how they were once used in the Middle Ages to gouge the hearts of victims in a witch's ceremony. I'm not sure who Battler is trying to convince here. When Kinzo did things like that, it was pretty scary, but looking back on it now, they were really childish pranks. Grandfather really only scared his children because he wanted to joke around with them.
じいさまはきっとお前にも同じことをしてからかったと思
I'd be willing to bet Grandfather pulled a prank like that on you once too.
う。幼いお前がそれに怯えてじいさまを不気味で恐ろしい人だと思い込ん
It's
だ
no
としても
surprise that, young as you
無理も
were,
ない話だと
you
思
let
う。
that scare you and convince you that Grandfather was a strange, terrifying person.
お兄ちゃんが何を言ってるのか
I don't know what you're talking about, Oni-chan. Ange bit her lower lip and stared at the ground. She said she didn't understand, but in truth she understood perfectly and was refusing to accept it.
さっき客間でハロウィンのプレゼント交換があったな。
Remember how we traded Halloween presents in the parlor just now?
何よあれ。
What was all that about?
あんな甘ったるいこと後ろ宮家でやるわけがない。
The Ashiramiya family never did anything that sentimental. NJ's not wrong, but the mystery is why Battler is trying so hard to convince her of that truth.
お前はまるで覚えてないんだな。
Almost like you don't remember it at all. I mean, it's hard to remember things that didn't happen. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. She's trying to remember things that never happened.
私もかつてプレゼントをもらったことがあるというの？
Saying, I got presents once too.
覚えてない。
I don't remember anything like that. To be fair, you were supposed to be 4 years old.
そんなのあるわけがない。
That could never happen.
オカルト好きで西洋かぶれのじいさまがハロウィンをやらないと思うか？
You really think grandfather, someone who loved the occult and Western traditions, wouldn't celebrate Halloween? That's an okay question.
じいさまのハッピーハロウィンはもう親族会議の挨拶みたいなもんだったぜ。
Grandfather's Happy Halloween was basically the standard greeting at our family conferences. Okay
エ
then.
ンジェラってもらってるはずだ。
He must have said it to you.
幼いってのは残酷だな。
Youth can be cruel.
じいさまが心を込めて選んだろうプレゼントもお前の心には全く残らなかった。
Even though grandfather put all his heart into choosing those presents, it looks like your heart didn't remember anything.
私が幼かったから覚えてないだけ
Are
だ。
you saying I was too young to remember? I mean, Battler's pushing pretty hard for this lie. Oh boy.
あれが
And
あれが真実の10月4日だというの？
that was the truth of October 4th? That's what he's trying to say. Question is, do you believe him?
6年前と何も変わらず
I'm thinking from NJ's perspective. From our perspective, Battler's obviously full of shit, making stuff up as we've seen things. We've seen way too much to even remotely believe this. But if you're NJ and you're 6 years old, do you believe this? Maybe. Even if it's a lie, you might believe it. On that day, just like 6 years
じいさま
before,
はハッピーハロウィンの声とともに
grandfather entered the parlor with a cry of Happy Halloween.
そして俺との6年ぶりの再会に涙をこぼしてくれながら俺と
Then he and I traded
プレゼン
presents
トの交換をした。
as he shed tears over our long-awaited reunion after a 6-year
じいさま
gap.
はエンジェが来れなかったことを残念がっていたよ。
Grandfather seemed so sad NJ wasn't able to come.
だからエンジェにぜひ渡してくれとキリエさんにプレゼントボックスを預けていた。
We gave Kyrie-san a present, telling her to make sure that NJ got it.
そんなプレゼント私は知らない。
I never heard of any present like that.
受け取ってない。
Mom never gave it to me.
お
True.
前に届けることは
She never had the chance.
でき。
私は信じない。
He attempted to say something and she just immediately said, I don't believe it.
あんな後ろ宮金蔵なんて
It wasn't long enough to
信
get
じ
it
ない。
I won't believe that that was a
じゃ
Shiromiya
あ
Kinzo.
親族会議はどうなの？
What about the family
遺
conference
産
itself?
分配のためのきな臭いものじゃなかったの？
Was there a tense argument over the distribution of the inheritance?
親族兄弟たちはみんな資金繰りに困っていた。
All the adult siblings were in money
その
trouble,
ために金蔵の遺産を渇望していた。
while they all desperately longed for Kinzo's inheritance
エン
money.
ジェはそんなことをどこで知った？
But NJ, where did you hear that from?
こって
What do
そ
you
うで
mean
しょ？
where?
それが真実でしょ？
It's the truth, isn't it?
幼いエンジェに親父が自分の会社の経営が苦しいなどと相談すると思うか？
You think Dad would talk to you about financial difficulties with his company when you were that age? Probably not,
親父だ
honestly.
けじゃない。
Not just
クラ
Dad.
ウスおじさんやエヴァおばさん、ローザおばさんが
Even
幼
if
いエン
Uncle
ジに
Krause, Aunt Ava, and
資
Aunt
金繰り
Rosa
に
were in
困って
money
いるか
trouble
ら早く
and
遺
wanted
産が欲
Kinzo's
しいんだって
inheritance
話。
money.
仮にするにしてもお前がいる前でする
Think
と
they'd
思う
talk
か？
about it in front of you?
だってで
But
も本当でしょ？
true, isn't it? In the end, it was true. NJ's words were not mistaken. Not only Rudolph, but even Krause, Hideyoshi, and Rosa had companies in money trouble. People started talking about the explosion accident as though it were some sort of conspiracy, and a mystery imagined by the public covered the island. Weekly magazines, television shows, researched the circumstances of Kinzo's children at the time, and in the future, where Ange lived, the research had been made public.
お前がそれを知ったのは1986年よりも
You learned about all of that after 1986.
でも事実でしょ。
The fact is,
事実は真実。
there's no difference between facts and truth.
だからロッケン島での親族たちは遺産をめぐってギスギスしていたってわ
Does
け
that
か
prove the inheritance created a strained atmosphere between the relatives on
そこ
Rokkenjima?
にエンジェの幼い頃の親族会議では粗相がないように 行儀よくしているようにと親に
That
重
might
ね
fit
て
with
言
your
われて
memory of your
緊
parents
張した
telling
記
you
憶が
repeatedly to
重
be
なる
extra polite at the family conference.
私の知っているロッケン島が後宮家が
Are you saying what I know about Rokkenjima and what I know about the Ishiramiya
間違
family
ってるってい
is
うの。
wrong?
間違ってるのはお兄ちゃんよ。
You're the one who's wrong, Oni-chan.
あんなのありえない。あるわけがない。
There's no way something like that could be possible.
私は認めないわ。あんな後宮金蔵。
I won't accept that that was Ishiramiya Kinzo.
断じてあんな後宮金蔵を受け入れることなんてできない。
エンジェは信じないのか
You don't believe, Ange?
ええ、信じない。
That's right, I don't
お
believe.
兄ちゃんがどういうつもりでこんなものを見せているのかわからないけれど、だ
I don't understand why you're showing me something like this.
ってこれはお兄ちゃんのゲーム。いえ、ゲーム版じゃない。
After all, this is your game. No, your game board, right?
ベアトだの、ベルンだの、
First it was Beato and Burn.
何人もの魔女が私の運命を嘲笑い、そのゲームで屈服させようとしてきたわ。
One witch after another has sneered at my fate, trying to make me surrender in their games.
でも私は真実を求めている。
But I want the truth.
魔女たちのまやかしなんか通用しない。
Witch illusions won't work on me.
なるほどね、魔女たちめ。
Now I get it, you damn witches.
最後の資格にお兄ちゃんを送り込んできたってわけだわ。
You've sent Oni-chan as a final assassin to finish me off.
そうだなこれ
Right.
は俺のゲームだ
This is my game.
だから確かにこれは俺の物語であり
Of course, this is my tale, and I'm the one making it.
もしもお前が島に来ることができたならという if を混
That's
ぜる
why
ことが
I'm
で
able
き
to
る
add what if situations, like what would happen if you came to the island too.
ほら、
See?
お兄ちゃんの物語じゃない。
You made this
全
tale.
部お兄ちゃんの嘘っぱちの作り話じゃない。
It's all a pack of lies, a fiction you created.
これは
You're right.
全て俺の作り話だ
It's all a fiction I created.
ほら、
See?
認めたわね。認めたじゃない。
You admitted it. You have,
やっ
haven't
ぱ
you?
りこれはお兄ちゃんの嘘なのよ。
Just like I thought, this is all a lie
ど
you
うして
made.
嘘をつくの？
Why are you lying to me?
どうして私に真実を教えてくれないの？
Why won't you just tell me the truth?
真実よりもっと大切な
Because there's something I need you to understand.
どうしても伝えたいことがあるからだ
Something more important than the truth. He's saying, what? More important than the truth? What is he trying to say, Battler? And also, I'm not sure how old Ange is supposed to be. Since she's now aware of stuff past October, but she's supposed to be 6 years old here. We'll see.
真実より大切なこと？
Something more important than the truth?
何それ？わけわかんない。
The hell are you on about?
それを分からせるためのものが俺のゲームだ
Purpose of my game is to make you understand that. As Beato's games were to make Battler believe in witches, Battler's game was to show Enze something that was more important than the truth. Games never bring about their intended ends by force. After all, Beato's game could never be won for all eternity unless Battler acknowledged witches on his own. Battler's game was the same. He couldn't win this game unless Ange acknowledged it herself. So Battler had advanced this game just as Beato had done in the past. To believe it or not, to accept it or not, the decision lay solely in the hands of the opponent. And so, Battler's trying to enshroud Ange with his own illusion.
ようやく理解したわ。
I finally
こ
get
れ
it.
は私とお兄ちゃんのゲームなのね。
This is the game between me and you, Oni-chan.
エンジェ
Ange.
俺はお前とゲームをしているつもりはない。
I'm not trying to challenge you to a game.
いいえ、
No.
これはゲームだわ。
This is a game. If this is the Ange that's been forced to, if this is the Ange that's played the games with, that's been playing games with Burn Castell and Lambda Delta, then it's clearly not one that's gonna just take this easily.
私は1986年10月4日の真実が知りたいと願った。
I made a wish hoping to learn the truth of October 4th,
そしてお
1986.
兄ちゃんは私にそれを見せると言ってこのゲームへ招いたわ。
And you invited me to this game saying you'd show me the truth. He might have promised that.
そしておかしな幻想を見せてそれが真実だと私に信じ込ませようとしている。
And now you show me this strange illusion, trying to make me believe it's the truth. Not even a good illusion. That's the weirdest part. But he's clearly trying to sell you on. He's trying to sell you something. You just gotta figure out what he's trying to sell you, right?
おあいにくね。
Well, too bad.
私魔女たちとのやりとりは慣れてるの。
I'm already used to dealing with
お
witches.
兄ちゃんが優しそうな顔をして私を騙そうとしてることなんて100も承知なんだから。
I can tell. You're trying to use that kind face of yours to trick me. Big brother realized no words of his would have any effect on his enraged little sister. Well, you probably shouldn't have used her family as puppets for your own ends. Ends. I want to say amusement, but I'm like, is he doing this just for fun? Probably not. So he just listened quietly to NJ's words, but even so, NJ was dissatisfied.
もうくだらない茶番は飽き飽きだわ。
I've had enough of this stupid
お兄
farce.
ちゃんに真実を話す気がないと言うならもうおしまいにして。
If you don't plan on telling me the truth, just end it all now.
私は私の真実を自分で探す。
I'll find my own truth for
お兄ちゃ
myself.
んには頼らない。
I won't rely on you.
そうよ。
Right.
もともと頼るべき人間なんて
There never was anyone I could
私には
rely
い
on
なかったじゃな
anyway.
い。私はいつだって一
I've
人ぼっ
always
ちだ
been
ったわよ。
alone.
悪いが
Sorry.
このゲームから降りることは
I won't let you leave this game.
許す。
ああ、そうだったわね。
Alright.
ゲームマスターが負けを認めない限りゲームは永遠に終わ
Unless
ら
the
ない
game
んだって
master admits defeat, the game never ends, right?
そんなつもりはないさ。
That's not what I meant.
黙って話を聞けってだけのことだ。
I'm telling you to stay quiet and listen.
ああ、そう。
Sure, sure.
なら黙ってることにするわ。
I'll stay
プレイヤー
quiet
がい
then.
なくても駒は勝手に動きゲームは進む。
Even if a player isn't around, the pieces just move by themselves and the game moves forward.
そうだったわよね。
Isn't that how it works?
そうだな。プレイヤーを離れ、少し傍観者になるといい。
A player can step back and become an observer for a while if they want.
また戻ってきたいときに、
They can return and join in whenever they want to as well.
そうさせてもらうわ。
I guess I'll do
こ
that.
れはコンクラベよ。
It is an endurance
お
test.
兄ちゃん
definitely.
が真実をごまかすことを諦めるまでのね。
I'll keep going until you stop trying to cover up the truth.
真実より大切なこと？
Nothing more important than truth.
意味わかんない。
I don't get it.
そんなものあるわけがない。
How did something like that exist?
あるんだよ。
But it does, Ange.
仮に、俺の物語が真実でなかったとしても、
Whether my
あ
tale
っ
is
たお
true or
前は
not,
大切なものを、この島でなくしている
the
んだ。
fact remains you lost something precious on this island. Sassy Ange is a good Ange.
お父さん、お母さん、
Dad, Mom,
そしてお兄ちゃん。
and you, Oni-chan.
私がなくしたのは家族と、そして全てよ。
I lost my family and everything that mattered to me. She spat those words at, as though no further questioning would do any good, and looked away. Even as he watched this, Battler's expression remained gentle.
勝手に進めなさいよ。
Keep going however you like.
じゃあね、お兄ちゃん。
Later, Oni-chan.
物語だけはちゃんと見ていろ
At
よ。
least make sure you watch the
聞
tale.
くだけでもいい。
Even listening is enough. Battler traps his own sister in a witch's game and demands she pay attention. Yeah, nice guy.
気が向いたらね。
If I feel like it. Later. NJ's eyes clouded. And then a particularly strong gust of wind blew by, sending her hair flying. The wind must have been carrying some dust with it. NJ's nose twitched and she sneezed loudly.
お兄ちゃん
なんだい
What is it?
いつまでここにいるのなんかお天気変。
How long are we gonna stay out here? The weather's all
ゲ
weird.
ストハウスに帰ろうよ。
Go back to the guest house. NJ's eyes weren't cloudy anymore. However, the tone and atmosphere of those eyes seemed somehow different from before. In a manner typical of young girls, NJ signaled she was too bored and wanted to do something. NJ was clearly a 6-year-old NJ.
そうだね
Good
じゃ
point.
あエンジェはゲストハウスに戻ってるといい
Why don't you head back to the guest house
お
now?
兄ちゃんはまだここにいる
I'll
よ
stay here.
どうしてもうすぐ雨が降ってくるよ。
It'll start raining soon.
そろそろ来るはずなんだ
It won't be long
だ
now.
から俺は待ってるよ
I'll wait here a bit longer.
待ってるって誰
You're waiting here? Who are you waiting for? Beatrice arrives unseen. Then to NJ's eyes, it looked as though the strong winds were carrying flakes of gold along with them. Oh, she'd definitely seen something. She wasn't able to describe what she'd seen. To her, it seemed like flakes of gold dancing on the
来
wind.
たか
So here you are.
ずいぶん待ったぜ
I've been waiting a while now. It was as though he was talking to the wind. Battler spoke to the empty rose garden. That can't be right. After all, it was clear from his words he was talking to someone right in front of him. So NJ thought they must be someone that she alone couldn't see and rubbed her eyes. When she opened her eyes wide, another large gust of wind blew past her. She shut her eyes immediately, and when she timidly opened them, from the other end of the rose garden, from the path that led up from the harbor, a person appeared. To NJ, it looked as though she appeared along with a cloud of gold flakes carried by the wind. Hello, Beato.
遅えぞベアト
You're late, Beato. She even said it, Beato.
そうかむしろ早いぞ
たまにはお
I
前
call it
も
early.
一緒に船に乗ればいいんだ
You should ride the boat with us every now and then.
柵に捕まってお前と一緒に叫ぶか
You mean grab the handrail and scream alongside you?
いいぜ叫ぼうぜ落ちる落ちるってな
Yeah, let's scream, fall, fall, fall.
なるほどそれも悪くなかった
How interesting.
認めようどうやらわらわが来るのは遅かったらしい
I did arrive a little too late. The pair casually walked up to each other and hugged. It looked like a pair of friends being reunited after several years. NJ, surprised by this unfamiliar woman, looked for somewhere to hide. However, her eyes met Beato's and she was unable to escape.
おおそなたはエンジェか
And you must be NJ. She was shocked to hear this unfamiliar woman suddenly use her name.
こやつも6歳の頃はなかなかに可愛かったではないか
Look, even she can be so cute when she's 6 years old.
お兄ちゃん
Oni-chan?
この人誰
Who's this person?
お兄ちゃんの友人だ
Friend of mine?
友人
A friend?
それはあんまりだろうが
How do you say that?
お兄ちゃんの友達
Oni-chan's friend?
こいつはベアトリーチェ
This is
おじいちゃ
Beatrice.
んから聞いたことないか
You've heard from grandfather, haven't
後
you?
ろ宮家に黄金を授けてくれた
About the gold witch who gave the
黄金
Ashirmiya
の魔
family
女
its
の
gold?
話を
Haven't I heard that before? The golden witch? Now I remember. That was the scary witch who would snatch you up and carry you off into the forest if you didn't listen to your parents or stayed up too late on Rokkenjima.
雨の夜
Mom
真っ
said
暗な森を窓から眺めてると
on rainy nights, if you look out the window at the
魔
dark
女と
forest,
目があってさらわれてしまうかもしれないって
you might see the witch looking back at you and get snatched away.
ということは
Which must mean...
わらわは夜更かしの子供を見張るため、寒い雨の中、窓を一つ一つ覗き込まねばならぬというの
I'm
か。
supposed to be wandering about in the cold rain, looking into each window to find kids staying up too
それ
late?
はあまりに無体
How
な。
pathetic would that be? Sassy Beato.
確かに。
Good point, good
エン
point.
ジ、それはお前に夜更かしをさせないための親の作り話だ。
Ange, your parents made up that story to get you to go to bed on time. They made it up.
彼女はそんなことはしない。
Beato doesn't do stuff like that.
よかろう、名乗ろうぞ。
Very well. Allow me to
わ
introduce
らわは
myself.
黄金の魔女、ベアトリーチェ。
And Beatrice, the Golden Witch.
の、お孫さんだ。
Her grandchild, at least.
孫
Your grandchild?
お孫さんとは、なんともしまらぬ呼び名であるな。
Can you not do that, Battler?
だってそうだろ。
Well, it's true, isn't it? Just
じ
because
い
it's
様
true
に
doesn't
黄
mean it's...
金を授けて黄金の魔女と呼ばれたのはお前のばあ様の話だろうが。
The person you got the gold from and called the Golden Witch was your grandmother, right?
うん
Yes.
確かにそうではあるが、黄金の魔女の孫か。
The grandchild of the Golden Witch, am I?
そのキャッチコピー、もう少しマシなものにはならぬのか？
Can't you get a better title than that?
この人魔女なの？
Is this person a witch? Sort of.
ああ、そうだよ。
Yep,
今日の
she
親
is.
族会議に招かれたお客さんだ。
A guest who's been invited to the family.
怖い魔女じゃないの？
Isn't she a scary witch?
暗い森に私をさらったりしない？
She's not gonna take me away into the forest?
おのれ、ルドルフにキリエめ。
Oh no, hey, Rudolph and Kyrie. Onore Rudolfo. Damn, Rudolph and Kyrie.
一体わらわを何だと思って吹き込ん
What
だ
do
の
they
やら。
think they're telling this kid about me?
わらわはそんなことはせぬわ。後
I
で
don't do
厳
things like that.
重に抗議す
I'll
る。
lodge a firm complaint later. There's some salt in the air, I can smell it. She looked like a fiercely emotional person. Emotional? Okay. Well, she wasn't at all what NJ expected the creepy golden witch to be like. She was very loud, overreacting to everything. Yeah, it looks more like an Erica thing to look into each window while it rains, looking for children who are up too late. That's exactly what Erica would do. She's nothing like the witch Mari One-chan had talked about, who lived for 1,000 years and had various servants from the demon world. Turns out she's not all that good. Well, she looked like an energetic young woman, the kind NJ's mom might have gotten along great with. Her brother and the witch talked together happily like a pair of close friends. Dogs tend not to trust people they meet for the first time, however, people say they calm down once they see their owner is on good terms with the stranger. Surely something similar to this was going on in NJ's heart. NJ kept staring at this pushy, temperamental woman who called herself a witch. As she chatted happily along with her brother.
その鍵は？
What's this key for? Beato noticed the gold key hanging from NJ's neck. Oh, Beato can see that. Interesting. NJ automatically and defensively grasped it.
エンジェの大切な鍵だ。
That's NJ's precious key. Upon hearing these vague words, the witch stared blankly for a second. Almost immediately, she seemed to understand what he meant, though.
なるほど。
I see.
そういうことか。
Is that how it is?
すべきことを明確にした方が分かりやすいだろうと思ってな。
I thought it'd be easier to understand if I made it clear what she's supposed to do.
安心せよエンジェ。
Fear not, Ange. Fear not.
そなたの大切な鍵を奪ったりなどせぬぞ。
No one's going to steal your precious key.
本当に？
Are you sure?
もちろんであるとも。
Of course, of course.
それはそなたの鍵であり、そなたが決めることである。
That key belongs to you and the choice is yours alone.
バトラも、そしてわらわたちも、そなたを導く道しるべの役にしか過ぎぬのだから。
That key belongs to you, the choice is yours. The battler and the rest of us are merely signposts to guide you on your path.
うん。
Her with her brother. When her brother gave her the key, he had said it was very important, so she had to take good care of it. Ange didn't have a clue what the key was for, but it looked like Beato did. Beato only spoke in riddles, however, just like her brother did. This irritated Ange. But for the time being, the Golden Witch says she didn't intend to steal the key, so NJ calmed down a bit.
あなたはこの鍵が何に使うものなのか
Do you
知っているの？
know what the key is used for?
もちろんであるとも。
Of course,
だ
of
が、
course.
それを教えるわけにはいかぬ。
But I can't tell you. Sorry.
どうして？
Why not?
その鍵をどう使うかは、そなたが自分で決めねばならぬからだ。
Well, you have to decide how to use the key for yourself. The witch said the same thing as my brother. The pair nodded to each other, but it was all Greek to me. Felt like someone had laid out a riddle everyone knew but me and everyone was making fun of me.
やがてわかる。
You'll know soon enough.
無理に考える必要はない。
Don't waste time thinking about it. Alright. Ange held the key tightly, even if she didn't understand what it meant. It was her own key, and her big brother told her to take good care of it. With her youthful suspicion, she was scared the witch might ask her to hand it over, saying she'd teach her how to use it. Of course, her thoughts showed clearly on her face. The witch couldn't help but laugh at the honest expression.
安心せよ。
Fear not,
そ
fear
な
not.
たのその鍵は、誰
It's
にも奪う
impossible
こと
for
はで
anyone
き
to
ぬ
steal
の。
that key from you.
誰にも奪えない？
No one can steal it?
そういう魔法が込められているとでも理解せよ。
You might say it's been imbued with magic to make it so. Oh, she's safe. Okay.
とにかく、安心するがよい。
In any case, fear
わ
not.
らわもバトラも、そして島の誰も、そな
Neither
たから鍵
battler
を
nor
奪う
anyone
ような
else
こ
on
と
this
は
island
せ
can
ん。
steal that key from you.
本当に？
Really? Yeah, I'm just as surprised, Ange.
ああ、本当
Yeah,
だよ。
really. It is a meta item, but I mean, non-meta characters can interact with meta characters. So,
そういう魔法がかかってるんだ。
the magic won't let them. How confident are you in that, battler? The key was hanging around her neck like an ordinary necklace. I'd be surprised too, right, NJ? NJ could take it off right now if she wanted, and if an adult tried to use force, it seemed like it'd be easy for them to take it away. However, both her brother and the witch said it was protected by a magic that would stop anyone from stealing it. I mean, I guess you gotta believe the witch, right? You don't have to like her, but she's probably pretty strong.
魔法なんて
Does magic
本当にある
really
の？
exist? A good question. Even the 6-year-old NJ knew about the word magic, and she seemed equally dubious about its prospects. However, she realized real magic didn't exist. And that certain kinds of magic tricks were sometimes called magic. Yeah, even when they're not. Understandable. However, her brother and the witch were talking about magic itself. Best to clarify what they mean, I suppose.
あ
Yeah, yeah.
あ、魔法は存在する。
Magic exists, of course.
本当に？
Really? Ange's sitting here like, I don't believe you.
マリアもよくわらわのことを話しているであろ
Maria spoke of me often, does she not?
う。魔女はいると。
He says witches
魔
exist.
法は存在すると。そな
And
た
she
によ
often
く語
tells you
った
magic
はずだぞ。
exists, right? Ah, naturally, because Maria told me magic exists, therefore it exists. That is a bad argument. Can NJ figure that out, though? True, Maria talked about that many times. When they were just playing, NJ had believed her, more or less. However, NJ was in some ways sharp for her age. Or just not that gullible. When she heard Maria talking happily about magic, she sometimes thought such a thing couldn't really exist. I see.
なら見せて。
Then show me. Show me some magic.
ん
Seems fair. She wants to see some magic.
見せて魔法。
Show me magic. I think it's a fair question. Someone claims magic exists, you say, show me it. Classic request, right? Only fair.
じゃなきゃ信じない。
Show me magic or I won't believe you.
おいおい。
That's... Oh, hold up a sec. Hold up. No, that's fair. That's fair, Battler. Shut up. Don't ruin this
ベ
moment.
アトは島に来たばかりで、まだ屋敷に挨拶にも行ってないんだぞ。
Beato just arrived on the island. She hasn't even said hello to everyone yet. Is she even real? Battler spoke as though he was trying to smooth something over. When she heard that, NJ became sure that magic didn't exist after all. Battler's trying to cover for the fact that magic
魔女
doesn't
なん
exist.
て嘘っぱち。
Magic, it's just a bunch of lies. Oh, you brought her out onto the offensive. She's here to play witch hunt. She's here to play junior witch hunters now. Oh boy. Okay.
エンジェは知ってるもん。
It's a bunch of lies, I know. Here we go.
おい、よすんだ。
Stop that. Stop that.
ベアトが気を悪くする。
You'll hurt Beato's feelings. I don't even know if the real NJ is here, if this is just Peace NJ. But it's funny if he loses
よ
somehow.
いよい。
It's no problem.
魔女に会えば誰だって同じことを問うだろう。
Anyone would say that upon meeting a witch. I mean, it is a fair request, right?
いつもならばこのような幼子の挑発に付き合いはせぬのだが、
Normally,
バ
I'd
トラ
ignore
の妹であ
provocation
るからな。
from such a small child. But she is your little sister
特
after
別
all.
に披露してやってもよい。
Why don't we give her a special showing?
いいのか？
Are you sure?
よいよい。
Of course I am. Alright, I'm ready for Beato's special showing.
では見せよう、エンジ。
Watch carefully, NJ. My eyes are open.
うん。
Okay. Though NJ had challenged the witch, now that she was about to be shown magic, she looked a bit hesitant. That's fair. She gulped and then stared at the witch's face. The witch held out her left hand, bringing it close to NJ's face. Okay, let's see some magic. Then she slowly spread her fingers. NJ, thinking she was about to be turned into a frog, shrank back. However, after waiting a while and grinding her teeth, she realized nothing was happening. So the part of her that had been scared began to get angry.
何も起こらないよ。
Nothing's happening.
早とちりするでない。
Don't jump to
まだ
conclusions.
魔法を使ってはおらぬぞ。
I haven't used any magic yet. See?
わらわの手のひらをよ
Look
ーく
carefully
見
at
る
my
がよい。
palm.
種も仕掛けもないな。
I'm hiding nothing here, correct? Yep. That's what she's doing. Now that she understood, NJ checked both sides of the witch's
う
hand.
ん。
Yeah.
何もないよ。
There's nothing here.
よく見ておれ。
Now watch closely.
こうして握る。
I'll make a fist
そして
and
人
stretch
差
my
し
index
指を
finger
立
out.
てる。
She stretched out her index finger and held it right in front of NJ's eyes. NJ, thinking she'd lose the game if she took a step back, stood her ground and concentrated on the fingertip.
人差し指の先をよ
Watch the
ー
tip of
く
my
見
finger
ておれ。
closely. Never look where the fucking magician wants you to look. That's a terrible
行
idea.
くぞ。
Ready?
早いぞ。
It'll be fast. The witch rapidly lifted her index finger high into the air, pointing at the heavens. As NJ looked up to see the finger raised high, it swung down as though trying to dodge her gaze. In that manner, up, down, left, right, and left again. NJ, feeling as though she'd lose if she couldn't keep up with the fingertip, swung her face this way and that, looking serious. Ever since she was young, NJ hated losing. She'd take even the most trivial games seriously, determined not to lose to adults. The witch's hand moved faster and faster. NJ didn't lose track of it. Then the high pointing finger was swung down all of a sudden. The index finger curled up again and the hand was held in a simple fist. Could it be something was going to come out of that hand? NJ, who had suspected this might happen, followed the finger very closely. There was no way the once empty hand could have grabbed anything.
よいか
Ready?
手を開くぞ。
I'm gonna open my hand. I'm ready. I'm ready. The witch slowly opened her right fist, and there.
え
What? What?
どうして
How? Magic.
どうしてお兄ちゃん
How, Oni-chan? The witch gave the cutely wrapped candy to NJ as a present. NJ took it and desperately searched for some kind of trick on it, but it was just an ordinary, everyday candy.
どうして
How? Magic.
手品でしょお兄ちゃん
Oh, that was a trick, wasn't it, Oni-chan? It was a trick, but one you weren't able to
お
figure
兄
out.
ちゃん
Oni-chan? Oni-chan? It was a trick, but one you are unfortunately unable to figure out at the moment.
いや、魔法だよ。
No, that was magic. Of course. The way Battler says it, everything's magic.
エンジェもずっと見てただろ。
You were watching the whole time, weren't you?
うん
Some good old misdirection magic. NJ doesn't like it. Since I was watching the whole time, how did it happen? NJ didn't like it, but she's unable to see how it could have been anything other than magic. Hard to come up with a solution for things like that, admittedly. My sympathies, NJ. As the little sister furrowed her brow and bit her lip, her brother gently told her again that it was magic.
そろそろ屋敷へ挨拶に行く。バトラも付き合うがよい。
About time for me to head to the mansion to pay my respects. You should come along, Battler.
わらは一人では窒息してしま
I'll
うわ。
suffocate if I have to go alone.
そうか。
You sure? Alright.
じゃあ、
I'll
お供
join
さ
you.
せ。エンジェはどうする？
What about you, NJ? You coming along?
ゲストハウスに戻ってるか？
You going back to the guest house? What are you thinking?
お兄ちゃんと一緒がいい
I want to stay with you, Oni-chan. The NJ of Battler's dreams just wants to stay with her Oni-chan. She still couldn't accept it. However, could it really be? She still looked grumpy. But it looked like she was getting interested in this witch. Just what is this witch
さ
up
あ、では行こうでは
to?
ないか。
Then, let's go!
黄金の魔女の帰還であるぞ。
The Golden Witch returns!
黄金の魔女の孫の帰還だけどな。
Golden Witch's grandchild returns, you mean?
そのキャッチコピー、もう少しなんとかならぬものか。
The name sucks, I agree. Got a fix for that one? Big Brother and the Witch really did seem close. With kindred spirits, like a pair of comedians, they started walking. NJ held onto the corner of her brother's sleeve, trying to make sure he didn't forget about her. Easily. Poor NJ. I guess at 6 years old, she might be a little bit small. And a little too forgettable. Guess that's why 6-year-olds are really loud sometimes, right? The VIP room was filled with the sweet smell of pumpkin tea. Wow, it's the first time the VIP rooms seem actual use, other than people checking to see if Beatrice really exists. Packed with smiles and laughter.
それは良い。
Simply
元気そう
splendid.
で何よりだ。
I'm glad to see you in such high spirits.
そなたも元気そうで何より
I
だ
could say the same for you.
余命いくばくとは肩払いたいわ
What idiot said you're reaching your last years?
そなたに元気を分けてもらってるだけだ。
Oh, I just borrow a bit of cheer
書
from
斎に
you.
戻れば、枯れ果てた年寄りが窓辺でほうけているだけよ。
Once I return to my study, I'll be a little more than a withering, senile old man.
そなたの死ぬ死ぬ詐欺にはもううんざりしている
Enough with your
もう
lies.
諦め100まで元気に生きると誓ってしまえ
Give it up and swear you'll be living large until you're 100.
俺もじいさまには6年ぶりに会ったけど、全然変わってねえんで驚いたもんな。
I haven't seen you in 6 years, but I was surprised to see how little you'd changed.
バトラめ、
You little
こ
brat.
の6年で世辞まで学んだか。
Didn't you learn flattery in these last 6 years?
残念だがそれは節穴というものよ。
Sorry to disappoint, but you're hardly a fair judge
し
in the
っ
matter.
かりかっきり老いぼれておるわ。
I've grown quite old indeed.
金蔵が100歳になってピンピンしているのに1000円かけるぞ
I'll bet 1,000 yen Kinzo's still doing great when he turns 100.
ああ、俺も
Me too, me
100
too.
歳になってもじいさまは今と変わらないさ。
Grandpa won't be any different when he's 100.
これ以上褒めても何も出ぬというのに。
But don't think you'll be getting any more presents for complimenting me. Kinzo laughed cheerily. Beato, who sat next to Battler, also laughed merrily. Ange stood alone by the window, clearly out of place. She's staring at the others, trying to figure out what sort of relationship the witch of the portrait and her grandfather had. There was a knock on the door.
源氏か。
Is that you, Genji?
入るがよい。
Come on in.
失礼いたします。
Pardon the
クラウ
intrusion.
ス様と夏日様がお越しで
Chris
ご
and
ざいます
Natsuhi-sama are here.
お父さん、
Oh, father!
バ
And
トラ
Battler
君も
comes
一
here
緒か
too.
ね。
Should have known Battler'd been here. He's always ready
ご無
for a
沙汰し
fight.
ておりますベアトリーチェさん
It's been a while since we did a Battler pun. It's been some time, Beatrice-sama.
おかわりはありませんか
Has there been any news? Oh, San, not Sama. I just saw San and
相
assumed
変わ
Sama
ら
for
ず
some
であ
reason.
るわ
I'm just the way I used to be.
さあ座れ座れ
Come on, have a seat.
エンジェもどうしてそんな窓際にいるというのか
Are you standing by the window like that?
こっちへ来て
Main
座るがいい
Protagonist trait. Come on over here and sit down.
エンジェ、こっちにおいで。
Anime protagonist traits. Always sits by the window, right? That's like anime 101. And Jake, come on over here.
ここで見てるからいい。
I'll just watch from here. And Jake grasped the candy she had gotten from Beato tightly. And with a gaze that was still wary, she continued to stare. Genji offered her a chair, but NJ just shook her head.
好きにさせてやりなさい。
She could. Let her do as she pleases.
クラウスも夏日もそこに座るがいい。
Come, Kraus Natsuhi, have a seat as well.
何か
There's
重要
four
な
chairs.
話でも
Is it something
俺
important?
とエンジェは席を外した方がいいかな。
I guess NJ and I should leave.
おいおいそなたが帰ったら
Wait,
わら
if
わ
you
は
leave,
誰に相槌を打たせればいい
who's
という
backing
の
me
だ
up here?
金蔵バトラがいても構わぬであろう
Kinzo, you don't mind if Battler stays, do you?
隠す話でもない。
I have nothing to hide.
構わぬ。
I don't care. Ever he'd called Kress and Natsuhi to the VIP room to meet Beatrice the Golden Witch, it was hard to imagine Kinzo wanted to have a casual conversation. After Kinzo said he didn't mind, Beato also asked Battler to stay, so he decided to do so. In order to avoid getting in the way of their conversation, Battler stood up from the sofa and walked over to NJ's window. When the big brother finally came back to NJ, she clung to his waist as though determined not to let him go away again.
Ah,
That Battler.
なるほど。
Always running off into pocket dimensions with strange witches.
どうしてわらわがエンジェに嫌われているか。わ
That
かっ
must
た
be
ぞ。
why NJ doesn't like me. You got that right. You're trying to steal our Oni-chan away. Of course you're gonna have a fight on your hands.
どうしてだ？
What do you mean?
エンジは別にお前のことを嫌ってなんかないだろ。
NJ doesn't dislike you, does she? Something like
こ
that.
れだからバトラは女心がわからぬのだ。
You really don't understand women, do you, Battler? No, he doesn't. And Beato smiled at NJ, but the latter turned to look the other way.
女は幼くとも女であるな。
Even a young woman is a woman nonetheless. Yes? And? When Beato stopped laughing, the conversation switched gears. Why on earth did Kinzo summon Kraus and Natsuhi to the VIP room? What was he going to talk about? Everyone fell automatically silent. Yeah, I'd be curious to know what's going on. This sounds important. Golden Witch Beatrice.
滅ぶ運命にあったはずの後ろ宮家を救ってくれた大恩、一日たりとも忘れたことはないぞ。
Each and every day I remember the debt the Ashiramiya family owes from when it was saved from the brink of destruction.
感謝せい、感謝せい。
Yeah, you better thank me.
じい様が感謝してるのはお前のばあさんの方だからな。
It's your grandmother he's thanking.
やかましい。
Shut up, you.
いいや、同じことです。
No, it comes to the same thing.
莫大な黄金を3代にもわたり、後宮家に貸し付けてくれました。
All that gold has been lent to the Ashiramiya family for 3 generations.
それも無償で。
And without cost.
本当にいくら感謝してもしたりません。
Truly can't be grateful enough. You really can't.
黄金など、わらわにはレンガも同じよ。
Gold bars are the same as bricks to
置
me.
き場もないから、金蔵が預かっててくれて助かる。
I had nowhere else to put them. It was a relief that to have Kinzo hold on to them.
ひゅー。死ぬ前に一度は言ってみたいセリフだぜ。
I'd like to say that at least once before I die. Yeah, this gold's worthless. Can someone hold on to all this gold for me? I need some help. First world problems, am I right?
黄金の魔女ってお金持ちなの？
Is the Golden Witch a rich person?
そりゃそうだな。
Oh, yeah.
何しろ10トンもの黄金をほいっとじい様に貸し出したんだからな。
Just went and lent grandfather 10 tons of gold. Of course she's loaded. Precisely.
必ず返すと約束し、もう
Been
数
borrowing
十
it for
年も
several
借りている。
decades. Always promising to return it one day.
その恩はもはや返しきれないほどだ。
It's a debt I'll never fully be able to repay. Yeah, pretty hard to repay that debt. As time is money. So getting money for free for a long period of time means it's a huge expense to them.
当家が感謝の気持ちを忘れたことはありません。
The head family's never forgotten its
ねえあ
gratitude.
なた。
Isn't that right, dear?
無論だとも。
Of course, of course.
3代にわたり、ベアトリーチェさんたちが気前よく貸してくれなかったら、
Why, if Beatrices hadn't kindly lent us it for 3 generations,
後宮家はとうに滅んでいましたと。
the Ashiramiya family would have fallen long ago.
辣腕のお父さんとて、軍資金がなければ何もできなかったのですから。
Even someone as shrewd as father couldn't have done anything without funds to start with. Yeah, it takes money to make money.
もはや金が金を呼び、黄金の軍資金は静かに眠るのみだ。
By now my money is making money and the gold that made my original funds can sleep in peace.
クラウス、
Kraus.
私が何を話そうとしている
You know what I'm about to
かわ
say?
かるか？
We don't need the money anymore. Hint, hint, we should blow it up. Since the moment Kraus had been summoned here, he guessed what Kinzo was hinting at now. All things borrowed must be returned someday. The day had finally come.
はい、分かっています。
I
お
understand.
父さん。
ベアトリーチェよ。
Beatrice?
私はもう追い先はわずかだ。
I do not have
お
many
そ
years
ら
ahead of me. In
く
fact,
今日のこれが私とお前が会うことのできる最後の親族会議になろう。
this may be the last family conference we attend together.
何を気弱なことを。
How faint-hearted you sound. How generous and giving everyone sounds when we know everyone's selfish as fuck.
そんなことがあろうは
Gotta
ず
be
もない
joking. Beato alone laughed. She looked at Battler, so he laughed along with her, but Kinzo and the others remained silent. Apparently, there exists some major concerns about Kinzo's health.
無論来年すぐに死ぬつもりもない。
Of course, I don't intend to die as soon as next year.
しかし来年会おうと絶対の約束をすることはおそらくできぬ。
But I don't believe I can make any certain promises about meeting you again. Oof.
私はいついかなる時でもできぬ約束をした試しは一度
I
も
never
ない。
make promises I can't keep. Well, that's one good thing about Kinzo. I don't think he makes
そのよ
promises
う
though
な
because
こと
he
を
likes to
胸を張
gamble.
って言われると
If you say it
わら
so
は
proudly
返
like
す
that,
言
well,
葉がないぞ。
I'm in no position to disagree.
本気で言っているのか。
Are you serious about this?
ベアトリーチェよ。
Beatrice!
しっかりとけじめをつけたいのだ。
I want to make amends.
私がこうして元気で
I have to do it while I'm
あるうち
still in
に
high
な。
spirits. Oh, good night, my friend.
だから私は今日
Doesn't matter.
それを決心することとした。
For that reason, I've made a decision today.
おじい様は何の話をしているの？
What's grandfather talking about?
静かに。
Quiet.
じい様は今からとても大事な話をする。
He's talking about something very important. By now, even Battler understood what Kinzo was about to propose. Beato probably realized it too. At one time, the Ashiramiya family had ruled the skies like an eagle before being crushed by the Great Kanto earthquake. The eagle had one of its wings torn off and it crawled in the mud on the point of death. Then they were saved by the Golden Witch's golden miracle, and under the Golden Witch's protection, the eagle had nursed its wounds for many years. Now, finally, it was time for the eagle to leave the nest the witch had provided.
そなたの祖母より借り受けた黄金をすべて
I will return all the
そ
gold
なたに返還する。
that your grandmother lent me.
クラウス、異論はないな。
Crows, you have no objections, correct?
もとよりあの黄金は後ろ宮家のものではないのだ。
After all, that gold did not belong to the Ashiramiya family in the first place.
無論です。
Of course. I, the man heavily in debt, would generously give him
何
money.
の異論もありま
Good
せん
money,
と
that is. I have no objections whatsoever.
良いのか、クラウス。
Are you sure, Kraus? You might come to regret this one, Kraus.
そなたは投資家であろう。
You're an investor, aren't you?
金はいくらあっても足りぬであろうが。
You could always do with more money.
金蔵から黄金を譲り受けたいと思っていたのではないのか。
Didn't you want Kinzo to hand the gold over to you? Seems strange to think about, isn't it?
それを言われれば
Now that you mention it,
確かに否定は難し
it
い
is hard to deny what you
しか
say.
し元より父とあなたの契約である
The
そして
contract.
もともとあなたの黄金です
This contract was always between you and father, and the gold was yours to begin with.
主人は仮にも次期当主。
My husband's the successor, after all.
お父様が一代にて当家を復興させたように、
As father rebuilt the family in one generation,
主人も一代で当家を繁栄させるでしょ
I'm
う。
sure my husband will make the family thrive. Oh God! What a lie!
そしてそれは主人と私で成し遂げることです。
It's impressive, Nazi. He can say that with a straight face, and this is something the two of us will do together.
よくぞ言った。
Well said.
その息であるぞ。
That's the spirit.
10トンの黄金に未練はないという
So
か。
letting 10 tons of gold leaves you with... Letting go of 10 tons of gold leaves you with no regrets.
やれやれ、大したものよ。
Gotta say, that's quite impressive.
黄金の魔法が効かぬ相手には魔女も型なしであるな。
What can a witch do against an opponent who can't be swayed by the golden magic?
そなたに黄金を返還する。
I return the gold to
だ
you.
が、黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェが後ろ宮家にとって最大の恩人であることは未来永劫変わらぬぞ。
We'll always be indebted supremely to the Beatrice, the golden witch. Okay. They'd return the gold once lent by the golden witch. It was both simple and clean. However, the expression worn by the golden witch herself was slightly lonely, and Jay couldn't understand why this was.
返すというものをいらん、やるとも言えぬしな。
Well, after all, if you're returning it, I can't simply say I don't want it. Take it back.
やれやれ。
Ah, well. Beato rose from the sofa. Then she walked up to the window and looked down at the rose garden waving in the wind.
クラウスよ。
Rose?
我が遺産についても私が生きているうちにお前たちに贈与することにした。
I also decided to present you and the others with my inheritance while I still live.
お父さん。
That's new, okay.
私が死ねば葬式で大忙しな上に遺産はどうするのかとエヴァたちががっついてくるであろう
When
が。
I die, you will not only be busy with the funeral, but I imagine you'll have Ava and the others at your throats over the inheritance issue.
今から分けておけば葬式が気楽になるというもの
If
よ。
everything's divided now, the funeral will be less trying for
クラ
you.
ウス、
Rose, write
メ
this
モ
down.
を取れ。源氏も書記を頼む。
Genji, please be our
これ
secretary.
より財産の分け方を説明する。
I will now lay out the distribution of my assets. Kinzu immediately began explaining how the inheritance would be split up. Bandler, realizing he shouldn't be listening in on this conversation, walked over to where Beato was loitering by the window. Yeah, Beato also being just like, why am I even here for this part?
よう、大金持ち。
Hey, rich person.
黄金が余ってるなら少しは引き取るぜ。
I mean, if you got too much gold in your hands, I'm happy to lighten the load. Got any gold you don't want?
黄金など薪に変えて炉にくべればシチューを煮る程度の使い道はあるというものよ。
Gold would be more
どうし
useful
たよ。
if you turned it into firewood and used it to cook a stew. Oh, what's the
な
matter?
んだかつまらなそうな顔してんな。
You're looking a little bored.
とうとうこの日が来たか。
So this day has finally come.
寂しいものよな。
I feel a bit lonely.
うん。そうか。
わらわの魔法で後宮家はよみがえり、そして六軒島は生まれた。
My magic revived the Ishiramiya family and created
そ
Rokkenjima.
の後宮家がもうわらわの黄金の力には頼らぬという。
It seems the Ishiramiya family no longer has any need for the power of my gold.
わらわの魔法から巣立つということだ。
Taken flight, leaving the nest of my magic behind.
そうだな。
True, true.
そういうことになる
That's
な。
how it turned out.
わらわは六軒島を魔女の島と。
I called Rokkenjima the Witch's Island. Is there a but to that? Or is it just, it's the Witch's Island?
わらわの島と呼んできた。
My island. My island. Alright. It's a nice island.
そうだったな。
Yep.
その六軒島がわらわに黄金を魔法を返すという。
By now, Rokkenjima is returning the gold to me.
六軒島が魔法から目覚める日が
The day
来
has
たと
come
いうことだ。
for Rokkenjima to awaken from my magic.
そうだな。
True.
最後のゲームと分かってはいたさ。
I knew this would be the last game.
しかし
And what about it?
こういう形ではあっても
However, now we reached that point.
それを
Even in a
切り
manner
出
such
さ
as
れる
this,
と意外に応えるものよ。
surprisingly painful.
お前って結構さっぱりしてそうに見えて未練タラタラなタイプなのな。
You're the kind of person who looks totally carefree, but is actually full of lingering attachments and regrets. Is that the kind of person she is, Battler?
残忍で必要なタイプは
You're the one
大抵は
characterizing her,
寂しが
right?
り屋で未練がましいものよ。
The cruel and obstinate ones are usually the quickest to grow attached and then to feel lonely. Okay.
そうだな。
Right, right.
お前はそういうやつだもんな。
That's the kind of person you are.
わらわとそなたのためのゲームだった。
Game for you and me.
楽しかったぜ。
It's fun.
お前が6年の間に練りに練った
Great
愉
game.
快なゲームだった。
One you polished to perfection during those 6 years.
かつてわらわはそれを互いを苛む永遠の拷問と称したっけな。
I once likened it to eternal torture for the both
永
of
遠
us.
が永遠であると信じられるうちが
Eternity is happiest when you still
一番
believe
幸
it's
せな
eternal.
物事には全て終わりがある。
But all things must end.
そしてそれを自覚しなければならない。
And we have to be aware of that.
目を背けずに。
So we mustn't avert our eyes.
昇らぬ日はないように
As the sun always
沈まぬ
rises,
日もねえってことさ。
there's no sun that doesn't set. Of course, Ange didn't have the slightest idea what her brother and the witch were talking about. If you create a Dyson sphere and live on the inside of the Dyson sphere, the sun never sets. Just going to point that out. Seems difficult, but it's plausible. Even as young as she was, she could feel that the pair had spent an incredibly long time together, and that they understood each other so well they might as well be a married couple. And then, Beato noticed her reaction.
レンジ、
Ange.
わらわたちはかつて互いのためにゲームを紡いだ。
At one point, the two of us wove games for each other.
しかし、
However,
そ
that
れは
time
もう終
is
わっ
now
た。
over.
このゲームは今、わらわたちのためでなく、そなたのために紡がれているのだ。
This game was made, not for our sake, but for yours. They were speaking in riddles again. Grasping the key that hung by her chest, Ange looked at her brother's face.
今日という日の猫箱の中身を
We
俺た
need
ち
to
は
show
エンジェ
you
に届けな
the
くちゃならない
contents。of the cat box of this day.
お前に持たせたその鍵は
The key I gave
猫
you,
箱を開くための
it's for opening it.
鍵なんだよ。
猫箱って
What do you mean by cat box?
今日という日のことだ。
It means today.
エンジェがあれほどたどり着きたいと願った。
It's the miracle of magic.
お兄ちゃんは魔法の奇跡でエンジェを招いた。
I brought you to the day that you wanted to reach so much.
エンジェは
Yep.
最後の魔女として今日という日を語り継がなくちゃいけな
And
い。
you have to continue the telling of this story, of this day, as the final witch.
それは私がここに残ってはいけないということ。
Does that mean I can't remain here? Ange's tone was slightly tense. She understood what her brother meant, and it made her frown.
私は1986年のロッケン島へたどり着きたくて、
Wishing I could return to Rokkenjima in 1986.
そして私はやっとたどり着いたの。
And I finally make
な
it
の
here.
にそれを追い
And
出
you're
すの？
chasing me out. Why are you chasing me out? Because Battler is a mean Oni-chan, that's why.
お兄ちゃんは言ったわ。私が自分で決めていいって。
You said I could decide for myself. And you can decide what story you want to tell.
そうだな。
That's right.
確かにそう言った。
I did say that.
帰らないわよ。私
I'm
は。
not leaving. I'm not leaving.
そしてまるで私を甘やかすかのようなこのおかしな作られた物語もやめて。
Please stop trying to spoil me with this strange made-up game.
私は今日という日の真実を知りたいの。
I want to know the truth of this day. Even if you hate the truth? Even if the truth literally turns you into
12年を
hamburger?
経ても遡りても気難しい女であるな。
He's a moody girl, be it 12 years in the future or in the past.
うるさいわね。あんたには聞いてないわよ。
Shut up, I didn't ask you.
それにあんたこそ何よそのざまは。
The hell do you think you're doing here?
黄金の魔女は復活の儀式のためにやってきたんじゃないの？
Didn't the Golden Witch come here to perform her resurrection
雷
ceremony?
鳴と共に島に現れ、これから13人もの人々を生贄に捧げようとしてるんでしょ？
Didn't you show up on this island as the crash of thunder and try to offer 13 people up as sacrifices?
そのあんたがなんでこんなにものんびり団らんしてるのよ。
You acting so happy and casual for it. Maybe it's because she's Anna, and that's what she's looking like
わ
right
け
now.
がわかんない。
Doesn't make sense. Maybe if you knew the truth, it'd be better.
わけがわからぬのはそなたの方であるぞ。
You're the one who doesn't make sense.
なんだそなたは。
What are you
わら
thinking?
わにそんなにも人殺しがしてほしいのか。
You want me to be a murderer?
あんたはそれを物語に記してメッセージボトルに封じて海に投じたわ。
You wrote it down in a tale, sealed it in a message bottle, and threw it into the sea.
後の世界にはそのうちの2本が伝わってる。
Two of those were discovered later on.
どちらもひどい連続殺人の物語じゃない。
Both were stories of cruel serial murderers.
2本しか流れ着かなかったとは
What a
残
shame,
念
only two of them made it
残
to shore. I feel like there were a few more.
念一番の力作だったランドが人目に触れなかったのは残念なことだ。
How sad that land, my greatest masterpiece, was never seen by human eyes.
前から聞きたかったんだが、あのメッセージボトルは何なんだ？
I mean, I've been meaning to ask this for a while. What's up with those message bottles? Good time to ask. How are the message bottles created? As
そなたとのゲームを練りながら、その過程で生み出した派生の物語のようなものよ。
I was working out the details for my game against you, I began creating those tales along the way.
一つのゲーム版から異なる複数の物語を無限に紡ぎ出せることに気
Once I
づ
realized I could create
き、面
endless
白くなっ
different
てしまってな。
tales out of the same game board, it really started getting fun.
いつか俺に読ませようと書き溜めてたわけか。
You wrote them down, hoping I'd read them someday? Precisely.
あまりの力作にそなたを待つのが惜しくなってな。
They were so good, I just couldn't bear to wait for your return.
孤島物の古典に習い、わらわもそれを瓶に封じて海に投じてみたのだ。
Inspired by Agatha Christie, I tried sealing them in bottles and throwing them into the
ミ
ocean.
ステリアスであろう。
Mysterious, don't you think? Don't you think?
バカにしないで。
Don't mock me.
あれはあんたの犯行計画書よ。
Those were your plans for the crime.
あなたは黄金のありかをちらつかせながら親族の不和を煽り、
Use the location of the hidden gold to fan up discontent between the family members.
残酷な連続殺人事件を目
As
論
you
むのよ。
planned your brutal serial murders.
やれやれ。
Oh, sheesh.
1998年では
Is that what I've become
わ
in
ら
the
わ
year
はそういうこ
1998?
とになっておるのか。
How do we know that someone didn't just set the bomb off and then leave? How would we know Ava didn't just set the bomb off and kill everyone intentionally
なるほど。
without any
無理
serial
もない
murders?
ことであるな。
Well, I guess I can't blame them. That's what I've become.
はあ？何を開き直ってんのよ。
A sudden change of character.
私を拍子抜けさせようと目論んでるの？
Is this a scheme to make me let my guard down?
私は騙されないわよ、ベアトリーチェ。お兄ちゃん、
I'm not going to be fooled so easily, Beatrice Oni-chan.
私に魔女はいると屈服させたいんでしょ？
You want to make me surrender and say that witches exist, don't you?
その手には乗るもんですか？
Think I'm going to fall for that?
私はお兄ちゃんの手なんか借りなくたって一人で真実にたどり着いてみせる。
I'll find the truth without your help.
ここがその真実であるというのにか。
Even though that truth is all around you right now, this weird fabrication of battlers doesn't seem to
そ
follow.
なたはかつてグレーテルと名乗ったが、どうやらミチルと名乗った方がふさわしいようだぞ。
You once called yourself Gretel, but it seems the name Mytil would be more fitting.
いい加減にして。
Enough. Ange tried slapping Beato's cheek. However, the difference between their heights was so great Beato dodged before the hand could reach her.
バカバカしい。バカバカしい。私は認めないわよ。
I won't accept it.
こんな茶番が真実なんて絶対に認めないんだから。
Never acknowledge this farce as the truth. After Ange yelled those words, her eyes grew cloudy. They cleared up almost immediately, and by that time she'd already gone back to her 6-year-old self.
そうだな、エンジェ。
You're right,
それ
Ange.
がわらわが残した罪であり、最後の物語を用意する理由なのだ。
This is the sin I left behind and the reason for this final tale's existence.
ん
As Ange stared blankly, uncomprehending, Beato gently patted her head.
そうとも。
Beato, or Ange needs head pats. I think she needs head pats. That's a good call, Beato.
この物語は
Indeed.
茶番である。
This tale is a farce.
真実であろうはずもない。
Of course, it isn't the
し
truth.
かしそれでも、
But
いや、そうしてでも、
there's something here that he feels he must tell you.
そなたにはどうしても伝えたいことがあるのだ。
Something he's so determined to convey, he went to such lengths.
ベアト、
Beato,
それはもう俺が伝えてる。
I'm already showing her.
それ以上は無理強いしたくない。
I don't want to force it on her.
そうか。
See,
お兄ちゃんたちが何の話をしているのかわ
I don't
かん
understand
な
what
い
you're。saying.
エンジェもう眠いよ。
I'm sleepy.
そうだな。
True, true.
俺たちはおいとました方が良さそうだ。
We should probably go take a nap.
金蔵よ。
Ginzo,
わらわはまだここにいなければならぬのか？
must I remain here any longer?
おすまぬ。そなたはもう少しここにおれ。
My apologies. I must ask you to stay for just a bit.
続けるぞ、クラウス。
Moving on, Gross.
それでだが、福音の家への援助については、クラウスが後宮家当主の義務としてこれを継続
Continued
し、
support of the Fukuin house should be viewed as your responsibility as the Ashiramiya family head.
やれやれ。
What a pain. I guess we're trapped here.
すまんな、バトラ。
Forgive me, Battler.
わらわは送ってやれぬようだ。
Seems I can't go with
ゲ
you.
ンジよ。こ
Genji,
の二人をゲストハウスまで送ってやってくれぬか？
you mind taking these two to the guest house?
かしこまりました。
As you
バ
wish.
トラー様、
Battler.
エンジェ様、
Ange, please
ご案内いたします。
follow me.
ありがとう。
Thanks.
じゃあな。
See you
後で
later. Beto.
うん。
Of course. Of course.
そなたとは語りたいことが山ほどだ。
I have a mountain of things I wish to discuss with you.
それに、今夜は水入らずで過ごしたいぞ。
I'd like to have some time alone
たま
tonight.
には夫婦らしいこともせぬとな。
We must act the part of a married couple every now and then.
なんだよ、夫婦らしいことって。
What do you mean act the part of a married couple? Battler not getting slapped for fondling someone? In 2023? No way. Because Ange had gotten so bored, she'd grown very sleepy. It would probably be best for her to take a quick nap. Battler walked through the windy rose garden, pulling her by the hand. When he questioned their guide Genji, he learned that the old servant had known beforehand of Kinzo's desire to return the gold to Beato and settle the inheritance problem early.
親方様は人生を終えるという最後の仕事の準備をお始めになったということでございます。
The master decided to start preparations early for this final task in this world, the ending of his life.
自分が死んだ後のことなんて人は普通考えないぜ。
Most people don't think about what happens after they die.
やっぱじいさまはスケールが一つ違うぜ。
I guess grandfather just lives on a whole different scale.
今日は後宮家が黄金の魔女の庇護から飛び立つ
Today
新しい
marks,
気象の日なのでございます。
today marks the start of a new flight when the Ashiramiya family will depart from the Golden Witch's patronage. True.
確かに。かっこいい言い方だ
Pretty
な。
cool way to say it. How is she gonna transport all that gold off the island, though? Apparently, a grand Halloween party was to be held tonight, and Goda and the others had been ordered to start getting ready for it. However, it wouldn't just be a party, it would be a ceremony to mark the return of Beatrice's gold. At the start of the dinner, grandfather would make the announcement, and the 3 generations of Beatrices would be thanked for their gift to the family with a round of applause. Apparently, this is what they had planned.
親父たちにはまだそれは秘密なんすか？
Are we still keeping this secret from Dad and the others?
一応は秘密にしております。
Technically, it is a
ただ、
secret.
親方様のお考えは
However,
唐突に今日
the
思いつい
master
た
did
もの
not
ではありませ
suddenly
ん。
begin thinking this way today.
もう何年も前から今日という日について 考えを重ねられ、
He's considered this day many
時
times
に
over
ご
many
兄
years
弟
and
の
even
皆
discussed
様
certain
に
matters with
相
his
談
children.
もさおそらく今宵の発表に驚かれる方はいな
I
いで
doubt
しょう。
any will be surprised to hear this night's announcement.
うちのクソ親父。
Apparently. My old bastard's been running around all over the place trying to get some money for his company.
どうやら会社のことで金の工面が大変そうだし。
I guess he'll be dancing around when he hears the grandfather's giving him his part of the inheritance early.
じいさまからのちょいと早い遺産のプレゼントに
A nice
舞
present
い
for
上がっ
him.
ちまうかな。
むしろ大きな責任に奮い立たれるでしょ
I would think the great responsibility is what will spur him
う。ル
on.
ドルフ様は島を出られ、大成し見事な成功を収められました。
Ever since Rudolph somehow left the island, he has succeeded
しかし
splendidly.
それは親方様の財産によって支えられたものです。
His success so far has been supported by the master's wealth.
それが唐突に遺産をドンと出され、これからはお前の力だけで頑張るのだぞとなるわけか。
Yeah, now that he's suddenly getting his inheritance money, he'll have to keep going by his own strength alone in the future.
かえってプレッシャーがあるかもな。
Some nice pressure for him.
ご兄弟の皆様は親方様というあまりに偉大すぎる父親に
The siblings must have
もう
suffered
何
for
十年
decades
も
because of their
苦しんで
father's
きました。
excess of success and ability.
偉大すぎる親はただ存在するだけで子
Simply
には
having a parent who's too
重しに
successful
な
can
る
be
ものなのです。
a great burden to a child. I don't
そ
think
れ
he's
が
too
今
wrong.
夜
Then you feel like you have to live up to that success, and it can be like an impossible standard to hold yourself to. And tonight,
本当の意味で一人前になって巣立つってわけだ。
they'll leave the nest truly becoming adults for the first time.
親方様は今宵を黄金の返還式とお呼びになるようです。
Seems the master plans to call this night a gold returning ceremony.
ですが最初は生前葬と呼ぼうと考
He
えてお
originally
い
planned
で
on
し
calling
た
it a。living funeral.
生前の
That sounds a
葬
little
式じゃなんだか落ち込んじまう。
Yeah, having a funeral while you're still alive, a little bit grim.
新しい出発の日、巣立ちの日って方が確かに後ろ宮家にはぴったりだぜ。
I'll admit, calling it a day to start a new journey and leave the nest fits the Ashirmiya family a lot better. Much less depressing.
眠い。
Honey-chan, I'm tired. Sleepy.
ほら、
Look, we're almost
も
to
う
the
ゲ
guest
ストハウ
house.
スに着くよ。お母さんの部屋へ行くか。
You wanna go to mom's room?
それとも
Or to the
い
cousin
とこ部
room?
屋に。
どこでもいい。
Don't care.
晩ご飯まで。
I'll sleep till dinner. Ange, still holding her brother's hand, crouched down and looked as though she was about to fall asleep. Battler lifted her up and carried her. As she felt the warmth and safety of her brother's back, Ange drifted off to sleep. What happened that day? Just what on earth happened on October 4th and 5th, 1986? Because of the massive size of the Rokkenjima explosion accident, the time of the explosion was known almost exactly down to the minute. The time was October 5th, midnight. The sheer improbability of that round number proved the accident had been produced by artificial means. Later on, the following statements were collected from individuals who knew the Ishirmiya Kinzo when he was still alive. During his lifetime, he built a clock rigged to blow up the island at exactly midnight. This clock was apparently inside his secret study, and when he felt mentally cornered and wanted to think up a brilliant plan, he'd activate the device and use the tension of the approaching midnight to bring some flash of inspiration to him. While Ushirmiya Kinzo still lived, this was only thought of as a tall tale about this eccentric man. The fact that the Rokkenjima explosion accident occurred at exactly midnight supported the story.
クレイジーな話だわ。
Sounds crazy.
その狂気の狭間に魔法めいた力を求めたに違いありません。
I mean, he must have hoped to gain some sort of mystical power from those short periods of madness.
精神的な瞬発力とでも言えば、そう眉唾な話でもないでしょう。
If we consider this his source of high output mental power, the story isn't that difficult to swallow. Professor Utsuki spoke passionately. Witch hunters. Enthusiasts who treat the mad fantasy surrounding Rokkenjima as their plaything. Ange had no reason to love these people who embellished the deaths of her family just for the fun of it. How ironic it was to Ange, who wanted to know what happened that day, that such people knew more about the island than anyone else.
その仕掛けを使えば島を跡形なく吹き飛ばすことができる。
Someone used that device, the island would be blown away without a trace.
後には何も残らない。
There'd be nothing
あそ
left.
こで何があったとしてもなかったことにできる。
No matter what happened there, they could erase it.
後宮エバ氏が何がしかの陰謀の首謀者であるとする説は早くから囁かれてきました。
Theories the Yoshirimiya Eva was the ringleader of some conspiracy sprang up very early on, but no one was able to explain how she set off such a massive explosion.
その仕掛け時計によりそれが可能であったことが証明
And
さ
the
れ
rigged
た。
clock proves such a thing was possible.
さようです。
Correct, correct.
後宮エバ氏は24時に爆発すること、そしてその爆発半径について十分に理解した上でクワドリアンに避難していたと考えられ
That
ます。
Yoshirimiya Eva, fully aware of the range, timing, and expected radius of the explosion, took refuge in Kuadorian.
財産を独り占めにするために
Get all the family wealth to
みんな
herself.
を殺して爆発によってその痕跡を消した。
She killed everyone and used the explosion to remove all evidence.
そう考えるとロッケン島のミステリーは最も筋が通ります。
The idea provides the most logical explanation for the Rokkenjima
エバ
mystery.
氏があの日あの島で何があったのか
It
語
also
ろうとしないことにも合点がいくわけ
With
で
the
す。
fact that Eva never spoke to anyone about the events of that day. Where was the rigged clock? How did Eva find it? Several forgeries have speculated on this matter. There's no need for me to waste time thinking about it. Eva activated the device, hidden Kuadorian to escape the blast, and was therefore the only one to survive. It was everything, the answer which eloquently told the whole story. When Eva first adopted me, our relationship wasn't that bad at all. I asked her several times what happened that day, and every single time she answered, it was to say she didn't remember. But well, she must have been flustered at the time. The very first time I asked, she answered this. I can't tell you about it. It was a slip of the tongue. She knew what happened that day, and she left this world without telling even a bit of truth. She sealed the truth in a cat box and left this world taking the key with her. There can only be one answer. She was behind everything. She got to keep all the family wealth to herself and became super rich. Afterwards, she lamented the fact her beloved son wouldn't inherit any of what she created, and she cursed me. Just remembering that old bitch makes me want to vomit. What happened that day? That's what I want to know. It's my only goal, the one reason I'm still alive. However, later on, I had to come to grips with the fact that my goal was an abstract one. After all, though I don't know what happened that day, if it's a question of who did the crime, it's already clear. Yoshirimiya Eva, she's the culprit. It's never changed since the beginning. That's right, I'm not trying to find out what happened. I'm trying to find out what Eva did on that day. If I can reveal that, then I can expose Eva's evil even though she's already dead. This is my true goal. The police also suspected the accident might be a crime, and they did investigate. However, no matter how much they inspected the crater that had once been Rokkenjima, they didn't find anything at all. The public and the witch hunters cornered Eva with several bits of circumstantial evidence, but not a single bit of physical evidence was found. Though Eva was only the merest fraction of a shade away from guilty, they were unable to expose her crime. My goal isn't anything as vague as learning what happened that day. It's to expose the crime Yoshirimiya Eva committed that day and to have my revenge. Ah, that's a good plan. Good plan, Ange. Expose what Yoshirimiya Eva did on that day. To have her found guilty in retrospect, even if she's already dead. That's a good plan of revenge. You're like, I need to find out the truth of what happened. I haven't been able to expose Yoshirimiya Eva's crime, so people are acting as though the events on the island are done by some bizarre golden witch. Defeating the golden witch means exposing Yoshirimiya Eva's sin. I won't forgive Yoshirimiya Eva. I'll certainly hate her and take revenge for my family. That is Yoshirimiya Ange's one and only reason for living. Welcome back, Amaxa Yuza. Juza? It's Juza. Juza. Actually, I'm curious. What? See, it should be Juza. It should be Juza. but they might have actually taken Yuza and put a J there for the English version. I just realized that. We'll just call him Moxa.
それだけ嫌われりゃ会長もあの世で笑いが止まらねえでしょうぜ。
If she knew you hated her that much, that president probably would have been rolling around laughing in the next world.
うるさいわね。
Shut up.
あのクソババアの罪を暴くのよ。
I'll expose that old bitch's crime.
すべて吹き飛ばして完全犯罪なんて私は認めない。絶
I
対
won't accept that it was a perfect crime. With all traces blown away, I'll never do that.
つまりお嬢の旅は家族のための復讐の旅ってわけだ。
In other words, this journey of yours is a journey to take revenge for your family.
悪い？
Got a problem with that?
まさか。
You gotta be
生
joking.
きる目的があるの
It's
大い
great
に
to
結
know
構
you
で
have
す
purpose
ぜ。
in life. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Having a purpose is nice.
それ切ってくれる？
Did you turn that off? Doesn't like smooth jazz. Oh, it is Juza. Yeah.
おや、
Oh.
エムザッキーはお嫌い
It's
で
been a while since we read its name or heard it. You don't like M. Zaki? Apparently she doesn't like the guy who composed half the soundtrack. Moxa turned the radio off. The dull sound of the engine became the BGM that filled the
お
car.
かしい？
Is it really so strange?
弔い合戦なんて。
Fighting for revenge?
別に
Not really. It seems like a pretty common motive,
それ
honestly.
を生きる目的にしてる連中に戦地じゃよく会いましたから。
Out on the front, I met people who live for that reason over and
あん
over.
た傭兵で戦場に行ったことあるのよね。
You've been on battlefields many times as a mercenary, right?
まあほどほどには。
I've seen
家
a few.
族の仇を取るために戦っている人って
So are people who fight to take revenge for their families
強い？
strong?
そりゃ強いですぜ。
No doubt.
家族の仇を取るために体に爆弾を巻きつけて自爆するやつだっている。
Some people will even strap bombs to themselves and commit suicide to take revenge for their families.
人は仇討ちのために死ねる生き物ですぜ。
Humans are more than capable of dying for
そう
vengeance.
ね。私も死ねるわ。
I could do it too.
少年兵ってやつをご存知で？
Have you heard of child soldiers?
子供の兵隊？
You mean kids who fight like soldiers?
そうです。
Right.
親を亡くした身寄りのない子供たちが武装勢力に拾われて兵士になるんです。
Kids who've lost their parents and have nowhere to go sometimes get picked up by groups of armed insurgents to become soldiers.
パンと銃を与えられ、復讐の方法を教えられる。
They get a gun thrust in their hands and they're taught how to take
所
revenge.
詮は子供、使い捨てですがね。
But in the end, children are
引
expendable.
き金さえ引けりゃ、戦場じゃ誰だって兵士になれる。
Anyone can be a soldier in a battlefield if they can pull a trigger.
私がそれだって言いたいの？
Are you trying to say I'm like that?
復讐は生きる目的になります。
Revenge can be a reason for
そ
living.
して兵士になれるほどの力も与えます。
It can also give you the strength to become a soldier.
親の亡骸にすがって泣くことしかできなかった少女が一夜にして兵士に生まれ変われるほどの奇跡を見せてくれる。
Like a miracle, it can turn a girl who could do nothing but sob over her parents' corpses into a soldier almost overnight.
復讐ってやつほどパワーを与えてくれるものはありませ
Nothing
んぜ。
gives you more power than revenge. Is he gonna say about what you have if you've achieved it? Or when
そ
do
う
you
でしょう
stop?
ね。
You gonna ask that question?
それが
He
ま
just
さ
says,
に
I guess so.
私だわ。
And that's what I'm like.
少年兵問題ってのをご存知で？
You know about the child soldier problem? I do. Let's see what Jesus thinks of it. No.
銃を与えられ復讐の仕方を習った少年兵はそれを生きる目的とします。
Child soldiers who are given guns and taught how to take revenge make that their reason for living.
少し違う。
That's not great. And they don't learn to look past that.
それを銃を撃つ理由にします。
It becomes their reason for firing their
しか
guns.
し復讐ってのは終わりがない。
But revenge is something that never
い
ends.
つしか銃を撃つのに理由がなくなってくるんです。
At some point, they no longer have any reason to keep
どう
shooting.
いう意味？
And what do you mean?
復讐のために銃を撃っていた。
They once shot
そ
for
れがや
revenge.
がて理由もなく銃を撃つようになるんです。
But eventually, they keep on shooting for no reason at all.
復讐を忘れてしまうということ？
They forget about taking revenge, you mean?
できもしない復讐にやがて疲れ果て、その目的を忘れちまうんです。
No, when revenge is impossible, they eventually get tired of it and forget their
そ
original
して手
goals.
元には銃しかない。
And when that happens, they have nothing left except their
やが
guns.
て飯を食うために銃を撃つようになる。
Eventually, they just keep shooting so they can eat.
復讐のために銃を取った少年兵は
You're saying child soldiers who started using guns for
やが
revenge
て野党か何かになり果てる
end
っ
up
て
as
こと。
bandits. They end up purposeless and in life. Destructive, purposeless people. Easily directed to fight for any cause you can convince them to do. Or anything that you can get them to do. If they're just angry
何し
people.
ろ学校にも通わず職も学ばせてもらわなかった連中です。
Well, they've never gone to school and they haven't been taught any useful skills as far as employment goes. They only learned how to shoot guns. They're only ever praised when they killed the enemy.
やがて自分の生きる目的は復讐のためでなく、その手段のためだけになり果てていく。
Eventually, your reason for living stops being revenge and becomes the means you once used to take revenge.
気の毒なことです。
It's sad, really.
私もやがては復讐に疲れ果てて
Are you saying I'll eventually get tired of revenge?
私の場合だと何だってのよ。
What would it be in my case?
真実を暴くことに疲れ果て、
You get tired of exposing
お
the
嬢
truth.
はやがて後ろ宮エヴァを憎むだけの人生になり果てていく。
You'll eventually become a person that can do nothing but hate Ushiramiya Eva.
すでにそうだけど何か
You already got a problem with that?
そういえばそうでしたっけ
Come to think of it, that's right. I'm not sure what Amox is trying to say. He's saying I think they lose their purpose in life. It's probably something annoying. I'm not interested.
復讐なんてくだらないことだ。
Revenge is pointless.
そう言いたいんでしょ
Is that what you're trying to say?
お嬢の人生はまだまだ長い
Look, you still have a long life ahead of you, lady.
何だってできる若さがある
With your youth, you could do
その
anything.
貴重な若さを費やすにはちょいとこの旅はもったいねえんじゃね
I
えか
get
な
this
と
feeling
思いま
this
してね
journey might be a waste of that precious
余計
youth.
なお世話よ。
It's none of your business.
私ね、ほら、飛び降りたでしょ
I already jumped once,
ビ
remember?
ルから。
Off that huge
せっ
skyscraper.
かく九死に一生を得たってのに
And you only barely made it out of
あ
that
の時
alive.
ね、
Like
私
that.
は死んだのよ。
I
だ
died.
から、私はもう亡霊ってわけ。
I'm already a ghost.
家族の仇を討つために、あの日の真実を暴くことだけを目的としたね。
My only purpose is to expose the truth of that day, to take revenge on my family's
やれ
enemy.
やれ
I don't think she learned it. Maybe you can try again later, Amoxa.
お嬢は大した鉄の意志をお持ちだ
That's an iron will you've got there, lady.
あんたみたいな軽薄な男に、私の気持ちなんてわからないわよ。
There's no way a flippant man like you could understand how I feel. After that, Amakusa was forced to shut his mouth. He shrugged, but NJ didn't see. Eventually, or even so, Amakusa spoke once more.
お嬢とこの旅を始めた一番最初の日
On the first day we started this
お
journey,
嬢は言いました
you said
あ
something.
の日あの島で何があったか知りたいと
You said you wanted to know what happened on that island that day.
今だってそうよ。
It's the same now.
何か変わった
What changed?
今はこう言ってます
Now you're saying you want to know what happened on that island that day.
後ろ宮エヴァの罪を暴くためあの日あの島で何があったか知りたいと
So you can expose Ushiromiya Eva's crime. It's become more specific.
全く同じじゃない。
Isn't that the same? No, it's more specific.
まあそうですが
It's true, but
私、眠いからもう寝るわ。
I'm tired, so I'll sleep
少
now.
し黙っててくれる
Mind staying quiet
着
for
いた
a
ら
bit?
教えて。
Tell me when we get there.
了解です
Roger, Roger. I wasn't particularly tired, really. I just said that because I didn't like talking about this.
ならないでくださいよ
Don't become one.
少年兵には
A child soldier. NJ, who decided to feign sleep, ignored him. But Amakusa kept talking. He wanted to make sure she heard at least this much.
お嬢の旅は最初 真実を知る旅でした。
You started on a journey to learn the
それ
truth.
がだんだん復讐の旅になっている。
It's becoming more and more a journey of
真
revenge.
実を暴くことで復讐する
A
旅。
journey to have revenge by exposing the
し
truth.
かしお嬢も分かってる通り、ロッケン島にはもう何も
But
残っ
as you
てやし
know,
ません。
there's nothing left on Rokkenjima.
何の跡形も残ってやし
There
な
aren't
い。
even any traces left.
真実を暴くことは並大抵のことじゃない
Exposing
か
the
もしれ
truth
ませ
may
ん
not be
ぜ。
might not be a picnic. I know what Amakus is trying to say. The police searched the scene so thoroughly just after the crime, and even they weren't able to find any evidence proving Oshiramiya Eva was the culprit. A full 12 years have passed since then. If the truth could be discovered by a girl like me waving wads of cash around to pick up info from those who were somehow related to the incident, someone would have exposed the truth long ago. Yeah, he's got a point. I might not be able to reach the truth. If so, then my desire to expose the truth, will fade away. After that, only my hatred for Ava will remain. And just like those child soldiers who forgot their original purpose and lived just to shoot, I'll forget my purpose and live just to hate. I'll do nothing but despise Ushiramiya Ava, but my goal, exposing the truth for revenge, will be gone. So hating Ava will become my whole life. Is there a difference between shooting for revenge and shooting to live? When you pull the trigger, someone dies either way, and what about my case? Is there a difference between hating Ava as I expose the truth and hating her after I've given up? There's no difference. In the end, whether I find the truth or not, I'll keep on cursing Ava over and over until I die. What a crappy life. But now that's all I have left. Ushiramiya Ava stole my family, so I'll take revenge by exposing her crimes and showing the world. My consciousness was slowly drifting away into sleep. Why is Oni-chan showing me such a bizarre Rokkenjima? Is this supposed to be the truth? Enough with this farce. Why is even Oni-chan trying to hide the truth from me? I'm trying to find it so I can avenge him and the others. Or would Oni-chan say the same thing as Zamakusa, that revenge is meaningless so I should stop? Is that why he's speaking in riddles to make everything more confusing? It's none of his business. I'm not just trying to take revenge for their sakes. I'm doing it for my sake as well. After all, that's the only reason I'm still alive. Taking revenge is my reason to live. I don't have a clue what Oni-chan is thinking. Okay. Are we transitioning into the game board then? Or are we getting out of the Amakusa scene? Seems like game board should be. Yep, there we go. Outside, the rain had started pouring down hard. However, inside the cousin room, it was loud and cheery. It could have been raining spears, and no one would have paid any attention. Yeah, so what are we seeing this really weird and clearly fake version of the game board for? Is it to try and remind Ange of her family or something like that? Something simple and nice like that, like the good times she could have had with her family and the wonderful people they were before they died? Or like the good they could have or the good other people could have? I wonder what Badler's trying to do. Is he trying to steer her off her obsession with revenge? Is that what Badler's aiming for? It's an interesting thought, right? Full house! Take that. You weren't bluffing? The cousins were all bursting with energy, sitting in a circle on the bed.
バトラがでかく張るときは役なしのことが多いと思ってたんだがな。
And I thought Battler always had crap in his hands every time he acted tough.
そう思わせるためにここまで負けてきたんだぜ。
Of course, I've been losing all this time just to make you think
最後に勝つために負けを布石する男。後ろ宮バトラ。
Ushiramiya Battler, the man who loses strategically to win in the end.
おお、バトラすごい、バトラすごい。
Oh, Battler's incredible.
マリア、またコインなくなっちゃった。
Oh, my coins disappeared again.
私のコインを分けてやるよ。
I'll give you some of mine.
一緒にバトラーをぶっ潰そうぜ。
Crush Battler together, okay? With just a deck of cards, the cousins could enjoy themselves for hours and hours. They were so engrossed that the occasional thunderbolt hardly even registered as static in the background.
そろそろお腹が空いたね。
I'm starting to get
夕
hungry.
食はまだかな。
I wonder if dinner's ready yet. It's probably hard to tell if you don't have a clock, but I think they all have watches.
そう
Ah, who
そろ
knows?
そろじゃないかな
Could be ready
今夜
soon.
はゴーダさんたちずいぶん張り切ってたな
Yoda and the others really went all out for tonight.
ってことは、随分と期待で
We've
きそう
got
だ
a
ぜ。
lot to look forward to.
俺の6年ぶりの再会を祝してかな。
Is this to celebrate my long-awaited return?
さっきシャノンに聞いたけど、ハロウィンパーティーがあるって言ってたよ。
I heard from Shannon just now it's gonna be a Halloween
ホー
party.
ルで立食形式でやるそうだよ。
They'll set up a buffet in the hall. Oh?
すごいね。
Sounds incredible.
ハロウィンパーティー
Halloween party?
すごいすごいすごい
Incredible, incredible.
お
It seemed like she was saying something, but she
ど
didn't
ち
say
ら
anything.
様
Yeah, who is it? There was a knock, the door opened, and Ange was there. She'd been sleeping in her parents' room.
おお、エンジェか。
Hey, Ange!
Okay.
She woke up.
あのね晩ご飯だからお屋敷行くって
They said it's time for dinner. We gotta go to the
準
mansion.
備しなさいって
They said to get ready. Maria's happy.
ご飯だ
Food,
お
food!
腹すいた
I'm hungry. Actually, I'm pretty sure that that's my... well, that translation is correct, but I believe the literal is like something about their stomach is empty. So I think Onaka is stomach. Perhaps because she was the hungriest, Maria celebrated more vigorously than anyone else. He jumped up and happily hopped off the bed. As the others all clambered off the bed and started putting their shoes on, Kyrie and Rudolph came into view.
ほらガキども
Hey,
飯だ
Brent.
ぞ行く支度をしろい
Time for food, get ready.
今日はなんだか素敵みたいよ。
Looks like today will be extra
楽し
special.
みね。
Can't wait to see it.
マリア知ってる
No, I
ハロウィン
know.
パーティー
It's a Halloween party.
ハロウィンパーティー
Halloween party?
マリアだけ知っててエ
I
ンジェ
know
は
what
知
Angie.
らない
I know what Angie doesn't.
お母さんハロウィンパーティーって何
Mom, what's a Halloween party?
さあ、何かしらね。
Who knows?
行ってのお楽しみね。
We'll have to go and see for ourselves.
みんな、ええか。
Everyone ready? Yeah, I'm ready. But I kind of feel like they strangely left the Leon plot thread alone for a really long time now.
そろそろ行くで。
It's about time to go.
皆様、お揃いでしょ
Is
うか。
everyone here?
ご案内いたします。
Please follow me.
マリアこっちいらっしゃい
Mario, over
襟
here.
が変よ
Collar's crooked.
お腹空いちゃったわ。
I'm starving.
親族会議の一番の楽しみは食事よね。
It's the best part of these family conferences.
エンジェちゃんはお腹空いた？
Are you starving too, NJ-chan? Ava smiled at NJ.
うん着いた
I'm starving.
エンジェ着きましたでしょ？
That's I'm hungry, right?
いいのよ。
Don't worry about it.
そうよね。お腹空いたわよね。
I'll bet you're
おばさ
starving.
んもお腹ペコペコよ。
My stomach's rumbling too. Meanwhile, in
Yes.
NJ's head, rumbling.
Shipatsu
Yeah,
suru
rumbling
zo.
for blood. Okay, let's get out
表
of
は
here.
風も強いみたいだからな
Looks like the wind's blowing hard outside.
傘を飛ばされるなよ
Make sure you don't lose your umbrellas.
皆様、傘をお持ちください。
Everyone, please take an umbrella.
はい、エンジェちゃん、傘。
Here's your umbrella, NJ-chan.
ありがとうエバおばさん
Thanks, Aunt Ava.
やっぱり女の子は可愛いわね。
Girls really are so
今
cute.
度、おばさんのお家にも遊びにいらっしゃ
I'll play at your aunt's house one of these
い。約
days.
束よ。
I promise, okay?
エヴァおばさんってエンジェのことを気に入ってるんだ。
Looks like Aunt Ava took a liking to NJ.
うん。母さんは本当は娘が欲しかったらしいんだよ。
Apparently, Mom really wanted a daughter. That doesn't even make sense. She wanted a son because the son could be the successor, or that was her belief, but alright.
ああ、聞いたことあるぜ。
Oh, I've heard that too.
小さい頃、私も随分可愛がってもらった気がする。
I think she adored me too when I was little. Battlers, stories, fabrications get further stranger and stranger, don't they?
うちのママは本当は男の子が良かったって言ってたよ。
Mama said she really wanted a son.
元気に生まれてきてくれれば性別なんてどうでもいいのよ。
If your kid grows up happily, it doesn't matter if they're a boy or a girl.
マリアは大切な神様からの授かり物なんだから。
Mari is my precious, precious gift from God. And I'm here thinking, I don't know if she's shown that all the time. When they got outside, the wind was fairly strong. Eva, who really hit it off with Ange, offered to share an umbrella with the little girl. It was hard to tell what they were chatting so excitedly about, but they seemed to be getting along splendidly already. Battler opened his umbrella as he watched this. His little sister was cute when she clung to him, but she was just as cute and adorable when looking up at someone else with a happy smile. The wind and rain were strong, but even this must have been the perfect spice to heighten their anticipation of the coming meal. Thanks to some festive decorations, the main hall had been remade into the scene of a Halloween party. This seems awfully familiar. Did they use parts of this for the feast with all the goat people? I feel like I recognize the stacked silver towers and wine bottles. All right. The Ishiramiya family always took meals in the dining hall. This is the first time I'd ever seen a buffet-style party set up in the main hall.
Yo, Battler!
Yo, Battler!
Oh, Maria! 久しぶりであるな.
Chinese New Year is going to be a nice early January 22nd. Oh, that's cool. Glad to know I'm already remembering that day for another reason, so I'll have a second reason. You want to reuse as many assets as possible if you have to make a VNer game. True. VNs are pretty... A lot of vocal work, but not too many visuals a lot of the time. So it's noticeable when they sometimes reuse. I'm not sure if the background was the same though. Did they just reuse parts of the assets? That's what I'm curious about, because I don't remember if there was the long strings of garland and stars and pumpkins and witch hats there. Maria, long time no see.
Beata! Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween!
Trick or treat!
Trick or treat.
お菓子はあるが今はやらぬぞ.
I have some candy for you, but now's not the time.
食事の前であるからな.
After all, it's just before a meal.
ありがとう、ベアトリーチェさん。
Thank you, Beatrice-san.
相変わらずお美しいわね。
I see you're looking as beautiful as ever.
ローザこそ
You too, Rosa.
子持ちとは思えんぞ.
You don't look old enough to be a mother.
お前、少し出来上がってねえか。耳が少し赤いぞ。
Yours are looking pretty red there.
ん？あの後ちょいとそのだな.
Well, after you left, pretty sure she said a little
金
bit.
蔵が珍しい酒を手に入れたというのでな。まあその。
Kinzo said he brought this rare drink. I couldn't help but sample it.
食事の前のお菓子は自重するのに、飲酒は自重しねえんだな。
And this, coming from a person who tells little kids not to eat candy before a meal. Do as I say, not as I do.
失礼いたします。ベアトリーチェ様。親方様がお呼びでございます。
Beatrice-sama, the master's calling for you. I saw Kinzo beckoning from over by the portrait.
やれやれ。
Oh, good
セ
grief,
レ
here
モ
we
ニーと
go.
は金蔵も形式にこだわる男よ。
When it comes to ceremonies, that man's always so obsessed with form. This is a different angle, never mind.
例の黄金の返還式うんぬんってことなんだろう
Probably
な。
about that ceremony for the gold's return.
後宮家にとっては一つの大きな
A
節目
huge
なんだ。
turning point for the Ishiramiya
付き合って
family.
やれよ。
You'd better go and play along.
ちと寂しい気持ちもあるがな。
Does make one feel a bit lonely though.
後宮家顧問錬金術師であることはこれからも変わらねえさ。
It won't change the fact you're the Ishiramiya family alchemist.
であるな。
Perhaps.
ではちょっと行ってくる。
I'll be back shortly.
後ほどな。
See you
源
later,
氏の話によると、今日のパーティー、ちょっとした趣向があるら
According
し
to
いぞ。
Genji, today's party has a bit of a theme to
楽
it.
しみにしておれ。
You better look forward to it.
用意したのはお前じゃないだろうが。
You make it sound like you did any of the work.
いちいち細かい男よ。
Another one who obsesses too much over
で
detail.
は後ほどな。
Later. And Beato
お兄ちゃん、
pieces
今
out.
日は
Alright.
何かあるの？
Oni-chan, is something gonna happen today?
何か特別な日？
Is it a special day? It looked as though even NJ picked up on that much. She seemed to be getting tense for no reason.
後宮家にとっては特別な日だ。
It is a special day for the Ishiramiya
だ
family.
が、エンジェとは関係ないから。
But it has
He
nothing to do
likely
with you
to be
personally. You should just relax. Am I getting my brain juices revved up? I don't know. Am I supposed to be getting my brain juices revved up today? I feel like that's what I was doing all morning. I had like this annoying ass headache all day. It just wouldn't go away, so I was like laying down for half the day. I'm just, so yes, maybe I am in fact just warming up today. It's just been, I've been warming up all day and now it's almost the end of the day and I'm still warming up. One of those days. It has nothing to do with you personally, just relax.
うん。
Okay.
そうだ。
Right, right.
ねえねえお兄ちゃん聞いた？
Did you know?
さっきエヴァおばさんからね、すごい秘密を聞いたの。
Just heard a huge secret from Ava.
マリアお姉ちゃんも知らない秘密、お兄ちゃんにだけ教えてあげるね。
Even Maria-chan doesn't know. But I'll tell you.
ほう？
Oh?
秘密ってなんだなんだ。
What's the secret?
あのね、
Okay, okay.
アーモンドが入ってたら当たりなんだって。
I heard if you get an almond in yours, you win.
当たりって
Win?
くじ引きか何かの話か？
Is this like a lottery or something?
とにかくアーモンドが当たりなの。
Anyway, if you get an almond, you win. NJ puffed out her cheeks. Apparently, she wanted to be praised for sharing this exciting secret. But just knowing that almonds win doesn't explain much.
わかったわかった。
Okay, got it.
大切な秘密を教えてくれて。
Thanks for letting me in on the
ありがとうな。
major secret.
お兄ちゃん嫌い。
You're mean, Oni-chan.
せっかく秘密を教えてあげたのに。
I even told you my secret. NJ, her cheeks still puffed out, headed back to where Aunt Ava was. They really are getting along well. Well, I guess I have no problem if it's her aunt. If it was some guy for her class, I don't care if they're in elementary school. It's not happening. No playing with the opposite sex without Oni-chan's approval. And then at that moment, Genji's voice rang out. Chatter gradually subsided, and the rain outside once again became apparent.
皆様、ご静粛に願います。
Ladies and gentlemen, I ask for your silence. Silence filled the room. Well, he's getting what he asked for. All the relatives seemed vaguely aware tonight's festivities consisted of more than a Halloween party. After all, no one's in costume, right? Battler already knew. This is the ceremony to mark the return of the gold from Kinzo to Beatrice, which had been borrowed for so many years. Now that that fact was being announced by Kinzo himself, he spoke of how this gold had not only restored the Ishiramiya family, but brought it to the level of wealth it had never before experienced. He spoke of how he would finally return this gold to Beatrice, the one who'd saved the Ishiramiya family. Kinzo personally handed an ingot decorated with a bright red ribbon to Beatrice.
三代にわたる黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェの恩。
This is the debt we owe to 3 generations of Beatrice, the Golden Witch.
後宮家は未来永劫忘れることはないであろう。
The Ishiramiya family will never forget it.
やれやれ。
Yeesh.
しまう場所もないが、特別に引き取ってやろう。
If you have nowhere to put it, I'll be happy to take it off your hands.
ベアトリーチェ様。
Beatrice-sama? It was hard to imagine Beato of all people getting admonished by Genji. I couldn't help but laugh.
後ろ宮家顧問錬金術師ベアトリーチェである。
I am Beatrice, Shiromiya family. Okay.
今宵をもち10トンの黄金の貸し出し契約の終了を受け入れるものである。
I acknowledge the end of the loan contract for the 10
我
tons
が
of
祖
gold.
母の代より数十年。
Now, several decades following my grandmother's
片
generation,
役をもがれたわしは再び飛翔の時を迎えた。
the time has come for the eagle that lost one wing to fly once more.
わらわはそれを見守り、子々孫々までの未来永劫の繁栄を心より祈るものであ
We'll
る。
watch over that eagle, and I pray for its prosperity in all generations to come. Very grandiose. Speech? Alright, short. But still very effective. Applause filled the hall. Though she'd managed to make such a dignified speech for once, as soon as it was over, she stuck her tongue out and leered at us. I guess that's about the limit for how long Beato can stay serious.
黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェは名を受け継ぐことで千年を長らえる魔女である。
By passing her name through the generations, Beatrice, the Golden Witch, may live for thousands of years. Yes, we're experiencing some definitely true events. This is exactly what happened. To the letter, exactly what happened. It's not even being translated, it's being written purely in English. The Japanese voice actors were actually added later.
よって彼女の子々孫々に至るまでそのすべてがベアトリーチェであり、
Therefore, even her descendants will be Beatrice.
顧問錬金術師なので、
All shall be alchemists to this family.
後ろ宮家子孫一同はベアトリーチェの恩義を永遠にたたえ、子々孫々に永遠にそれを伝えるのだ。
The descendants of the Ashiromiya family will praise Beatrice for her gratitude forevermore, and this will be passed on through the
ベア
generations.
トリーチェは未来永劫後ろ宮家の恩人であり、
This family
尊
will
い
always
絆で結ばれた家族なのである。
be indebted to Beatrice, and she'll always be our family, tied by a noble bond.
ご承認いただける方々は拍手をもって承認をお願いいたしま
Let
す。
those who acknowledge this show their recognition with their applause. After Genji's words, the relatives all looked at each other, then started applauding at once. You couldn't hear the applause, I suppose.
ありが
There
と
you
う
go.
諸君。
Thank you, ladies and
ベア
gentlemen.
トリーチェよ。
Beatrice,
そなたは後ろ宮家の一員だ。
you're a member of the Ashiromiya
それ
family,
は
and that
血より尊き絆によるものだ。
is a bond more sacred than one of blood.
金の貸し借りの縁は血より大切であるからな。
Of course, lending money is more important than being a blood relation.
ベアトリーチェ様。
Beatrice-sama. After that, Kinzo's long-winded speech continued. Tonight, Kinzo would retire as the Ashiromiya family head. Then he announced he'd reveal the distribution of his inheritance. A stir of the excitement spread across the siblings in money trouble when they heard they wouldn't have to wait for Kinzo's death to get their shares.
お前たちがそれぞれ金に苦労しているのは知っておる。
I'm aware each of you are in trouble with money.
それらの問題はすべてこれで解
This
決でき
should
る
be
であ
enough to
ろ
solve
う。
all those problems,
ただし心せよ。
but don't grow
こ
complacent.
れは死を待たずして与える遺産であ
This is
る。
my inheritance given to you before my death.
私はお前たちを厳しくも常に
In
見
the past,
守ってきた。
Though I have always been strict, I have always watched
し
over
か
you.
し今宵をもってお前たちの父はそれをやめるのだ。
Beginning tonight, your father will cease to provide support of that kind.
私は雲上から見守るかのご
I'll
と
watch
く
on as you
お
take
前た
flight,
ちが飛翔するの
as though
を
watching
眺
down
めてい
upon
る
you
の
from the
だ。
heavens.
もはや
No
何
longer
の
will I
口
interfere.
出しもせぬ。そなたたちの
Live how you
生きたい
please.
ように
親父。
Dad.
お父様。
Father.
わかりました。
You understand?
私たちは必ずや飛翔してみせます。
We'll certainly take flight on our own.
兄弟で力を合わせ、後ろ宮家をますますに繁栄させることを。
Oh my goodness. Here and now, all of us siblings swear to work
兄弟
together
一同、ここに誓います。
to make the Ashiramiya family even more prosperous.
さやで。
That's right.
わしらは力を合わせたら
Bravo!
向かうところ敵なしや。
If we stick together, nothing can stand in our way. Hideyoshi laughed, but Genji admonished him. However, he could understand why they were so happy. So far, the siblings had quarreled ruthlessly over the inheritance. However, this evening, the inheritance had been neatly split apart, and they no longer had any need to scheme for money. In other words, the siblings no longer had any reason to squabble with each other anymore. On the contrary, this was the time for them to join hands and help each other become more and more prosperous. Eva and Rosa were sniffling with tears in their eyes. So was Rudolph. Perhaps now, despite their ages, they had finally left the nest for real. Tonight, the eagles of the Ashiramiya family would leave Rokkenjima, the nest weaved from the witch's magic, and go their separate ways. With their own power and determination, it made Kinzo think, if only I'd done this from the start. If he had settled the inheritance problem himself, there would be no need for his children to quarrel at all. Looks at Leon. Yeah, I don't know about that, buddy. Instead, he'd acted in a sullen manner and left the problem to them, which resulted in their strained relationships. Yes. And now the intertwining bonds had been released. It's all his responsibility. It was as though an invisible rope had been wrapped around Kinzo's body. The rope was now gone, and he felt a sense of release he hadn't experienced for many years. The four siblings stepped forward, and before Kinzo they swore to all support Kraus, the new head, and lead the family to greater prosperity. Their faces sparkled with an unexpected youthfulness. It was only natural. After all, none of the four had made such a natural feeling promise since the time they were kids. As the vibrancy of their youth returned to them, the siblings made a promise once again. When Kraus finished his announcement, a friendly applause filled the hall, and the cousins and the servants too joined in on the applause that continued on and on. Ange watched this dumbfounded. The four siblings were supposed to have quarreled with each other constantly since they were kids. They were supposed to have pointlessly locked swords with Kinzo's inheritance as the goal, their worries over money spurring them on. Thanks to this ceremony, even the world of truth, the world I acknowledge, has been rewritten. Were they actually friendly toward each other, or did they quarrel all the time like I believe? It doesn't matter. Either way, right here, right now, all those problems have been resolved. I mustn't believe. This is just Oni-chan's farce. Even though I knew that fact, when I watched Dad and the others hugging each other with teary smiles on their faces, I couldn't help but feel something warm welling up in my eyes.
信じないわ。
Uh-oh.
これも全部お兄ちゃんの茶番なんでしょ。
This is all Oni-chan's farce.
お前は何を見たら
What will you have to see?
聞いたら
What will you have to hear
信じることができるんだ。
before you'll let yourself believe?
赤で
Red.
赤き真実で言ってくれたら。
If you say it with the red truth,
赤で言えなければ全ては嘘なのか？
is everything that can't be said in red a lie? I mean, on a game board? Possibly.
信じない。
I won't believe.
私は
This
こ
is
んなの。
just... Ange looked at the floor and fell silent. As the Game Master, Battler is able to use the red truth. However, that rule only exists on a witch's game board. In the world of humans, red truth doesn't exist. People see and hear things, and when they believe that something's worth believing, they accept it as red truth. Unless Ange accepts it, no kind of truth can become truth. Battler wanted her to realize this. There is no point in using the red truth, a rule of this game, to force the truth on her. Ange would have to use her own power, her own heart, to accept the truth as the truth. The decision was Ange's. No one could force her to decide either way, so there was nothing wrong with Ange declaring this scene to be a farce. But even so, what about the hot tears dripping down Ange's face? Ange'd have to think that through herself without anyone telling her. After one sniffle and a rub of her eyes, she let the 6-year-old version of herself take control of her peace. What followed was a harmonious, fun stretch of time. Beautifully adorned dishes were brought in one after another. Champagne corks were loosened with pleasant sounds. Several small tables were set here and there, each with its own theme. That was where the fun lay in this stand-up buffet party, as the guests wandered from table to table, pondering what they should eat first. This sort of performance is where Goda's genius shone through. The hotel that let him go should have regretted having ever done so. Of course, a stand-up buffet would probably be a tiring affair for the middle-aged, so the chairs had been set up as well. However, each time a new dish was brought into the hall, they could get up to look, wandering through the tables however they pleased. This way, they would bump into a new group of people, mingle elsewhere when that group melted apart. People are interesting. As the members of each group changed, so did the topic of conversation. The bustling Halloween party played out like a colorful kaleidoscope. The origami chains decorating the walls brought back youthful memories. Those would help anyone enjoy themselves like they were kids again. Even to Ange, it was like a dream. She chatted happily with her cousins. She also chatted with her aunts and uncles. Beato showed her several tricks she called magic. Maria said they were magic, and Ange said they were tricks, and the night grew more lively. The two young girls were so fired up the adults decided to show some tricks they knew, shocking both the kids utterly. And eventually they each started showing tricks to the others, asking if they'd seen this one or that one before. And it became a party of magic, just perfect for Halloween. In addition to magic tricks, several quizzes, riddles, games popped up, reminding everyone of their childhood days. Even the servants who were serving food got dragged into the groups, and the whole hall was filled with chatter. To Ange, young as she was, every single magic trick, quiz, and riddle was an entirely new experience. They stimulated her intellectual curiosity, and she couldn't contain her excitement. Add in the wide variety of delicious foods and drinks, and she could choose from, and it was like being in a dream. Ange felt a floaty sensation as though she were walking on a cloud.
Ange, お前これを飲んじゃったのか?
Ange, did you drink some of this?
これお父さんの飲み物だぞ.
Daddy's drink.
エンジェも大人のブドウジュース飲みたかったの。
I wanted to try some adult grape
だ
juice
からいい
too.
の。
It's okay.
少し顔が赤いぜ。
Your face is looking a little red there.
大丈夫か?
You feeling alright?
ちょっとしか飲んでないから大丈夫とは思うけれど。
She only had a bit. I think she'll be fine.
エンジェ大丈夫だよ。
I'll be fine.
子供じゃないもん。
I'm not a kid.
エンジェちゃんはこっちを飲みなさい。
Ange-chan, drink
ル
this
ドリ
one,
コお
okay?
父さんが飲んでるのは悪い飲み物だからもう
That
飲ん
stuff
じゃ
your
ダメ
dad
よ。
drinks is nasty. Don't try anymore, got it?
そうだな。
Yeah, that's right.
悪いのを飲んでると、エンジェも悪い大人になっちまうぜ。
If you drink bad stuff, you'll end up as a bad adult too.
エンジェ悪い大人にならないもん。
I'm not gonna
お
be
姫
that
様
adult.
になるもん。
I'm gonna be a princess.
そうよ。
That's
エン
right.
ジェは私たちみんなのお姫様よ。
Ange is our princess.
そうだな。
Yep.
エンジェは家族みんなのお姫
She's our
様だ。
family's princess.
私にもお姫様よ
I agree.。
ぜひ今度おばさんの家にも遊びに来てね。絶
You
対
better
なん
come
だ
over to
か
my
ら。
house to play
いっ
sometime.
ぱいいっぱい歓迎してあげるん
We'll
だ
have
か
lots
ら
of。fun. Okay.
ありがとう、エヴァおばさん。
Thanks, Aunt Ava. Everyone's being really nice. I almost feels like I've become a real princess. I feel so great I could almost believe this whole celebration was being held for my sake. Battler stood outside the group of people. As he watched NJ smiling happily from the distance, he smiled too.
ああして幸せに笑えば名前負けもせんのにな。
And she smiles like that, she really lives up to her name.
欲しい娘よ。
It's so sad.
そうだな。天使の名にふさわしい笑顔だと思うぜ。
It really is a smile fit for an angel.
あの笑顔がコマでなく本当のエンジェのものであればよいのだが。
I hope that smile comes from the real NJ and not just the piece.
仮に違っても、あいつはこれを見てるさ。
Even if it doesn't, she's watching this.
そして、自
She
分
can
で
think it
考
through
えればいい。
herself.
そなたとエンジェのゲームは慈しみにあふれているな。
Game between you and NJ really is overflowing with
わらわ
affection.
からすればもどかしいほどにな。
So much it's irritatingly slow for me.
もどかしくて何の問題がある？
And what's wrong with that?
誰の邪魔もない。
There's no one to get in her way.
妨害も駆け引きも何
No
もなしだ。
obstacles or tactics or anything else to worry about.
そうだな。
Alright.
このゲームはもはや戦いでさえない。
This game is no longer a battle.
言ってみれば片付けなんだ。
I mean, now that you mention it, this is cleaning
俺
up.
たちのゲームの。
Cleaning up after our game.
わらわの気まぐれなる行為があやつに及んだ罪は償いきれぬ。
I'll never be able to make up for the sin I did to her through my careless actions.
俺たちのゲームの責任だ。
We gotta take responsibility for our game.
俺たち二人で償う。
We'll make up for our sins together.
だから俺たちでエンジェに最後のゲームを送る。
And that's why we're showing Ange this final game.
エンジェはあの鍵を正しく使えると思うか？
You think Ange will be able to use that key right away? The right way? Well,
俺
the
た
right
ち
way,
を
not
正
right
し
way.
いと思う方へ無理やり引っ張ることももち
Of
ろん
course,
考
I
えたさ。
already thought about forcibly dragging her in the direction we think is right.
それは意味なきことかもしれぬな。
Such an attempt probably would have been meaningless.
強制された選択は正しくとも生涯受け入れがたい。
When you're forced to make a decision, it's hard to accept it truly was a correct one, no matter how much time passes.
そういうことだ。
Exactly.
エンジェは自ら考え、
Ange
自ら選ばなければならない。
needs to think and choose for
そ
herself.
れが俺たちから見て正しくない選択であったとしても、
Even if she doesn't make the decision we view as the correct one, I think we should
俺は
respect
それ
her.
をし、
うん、ゲームマスターはそなただ。
Well, you are the game
わら
master.
わはもはや
I can't argue with you
何も
anymore.
口を挟まぬ。
After all Beatrice's apiece.
今宵をただ楽しむだけだ。
I'll simply watch on and enjoy this.
エン
night.
ジェにとっては意味あるゲームだ。
This game's significant for
だ
Ange.
が
But for
俺た
us,
ちにとっては
it's kind
お
of
疲れ
a
様パーティーみたいなもんさ。
party after the show.
そろそろやってくる頃合いだな。
Almost time.
しかし良いのか
Are you sure?
エンジェにまた誤解されるぞ。
Ange might get the wrong idea again.
大丈夫さ。
He'll be
それ
fine.
にむしろ必要なん
In
だ。
fact, this is necessary.
お前がそういう姿を見せたように、
Just like how you appeared in the way you did.
みんなもな。
And everyone else too.
ならば我らもこの千秋楽祝いを楽しませてもらうとしよう。
Let's enjoy this final celebration with the others.
これほどの長きゲームにて、皆それぞれの役を見事演じきってきたのだから。
They've acted their parts so well in this long game. That instant, the sound of someone clapping for attention rang out.
さあさあ皆様、お集まりください。
Your attention, everyone. Oh, I'm listening. Goda, what do you got for us, dude?
本日のとっておきでございます。
Please gather. Oh, I'm
本
here.
日は今夜のハロウィンパーティーの目玉としてこ
And
の
now-
特製ザッハトルテをご用意させていただき
For
ました。
today's special event, Yoda had been the one clapping. Everyone gathered together wondering what was going on. It's his latest dish. On the serving cart in front of him was a large sliced chocolate cake.
ご覧の通り、チョコレートにて片翼のわしの紋章の風浪をつけた後ろ見分けだけの一品でございます。
As the highlight of tonight's Halloween party, I've prepared this Sasha tort for you all. As you can see, it was made specially for the Ashirmiya family and bears the crest of the one-winged eagle in chocolate. The stupendous cake drew a gasp of admiration from all present. Must be a really good cake, damn, alright.
これは立派なケーキですな。
Splendid cake.
目玉にふさわしいものです。
A perfect highlight for the party.
いえいえ、ただのケーキではございませ
Oh
ん
no,
よ。
no, it's not just the cake.
今夜のこのケーキには一つ秘密がございます。
Tonight's cake has a little
親
secret.
方様、どうかそれを皆様にお話しくださりますよう
Master,
よ
I
ろし
ask
くお
you
願いいたします。
explain that secret to everyone.
うん。
Very well.
これはささやかなゲームで
A bit of a game.
このケーキには一つだけ当たりのものがあるのだ。
One slice of this cake will be used to select the winner. Ooh, a winner. What are we winning? A prize?
アーモン
got an almond in it. Ange, shut the fuck up. Ange shouted happily. Ginza looked at her and nodded.
このケーキの中の一切れだけにアーモンドが一粒入っておる。
In one slice of this cake, there is an almond.
そのケーキを選んだ者が今夜の王様であるぞ。
And the person who chooses that piece shall become tonight's king. Oh, was there a hint for which piece had the almond in it? Wasn't paying attention enough for that one. I just heard about the piece, I didn't hear numbers. Oh well. I didn't check in directions. Oh well. Okay, an opportunity to become tonight's king. Who wants to be the king?
王様ゲームなんて久しぶりだぜ。
Been a long time since I played the king game.
あなたのは悪い王様ゲームよね。
I'm guessing the subject matter was a bit different when you played it.
さて、王様になるとどんなことがあるのですかな？
What happens to the person who becomes the king?
王様は願いを一つ口にすることができる。
The king gets to name one wish.
それを皆で叶えようではないか。
And then we all try to grant it together.
へえ、面白そうだぜ。
Sounds interesting.
王様は男がなるんだよ。
Kings are
女
boys.
の子はなれないよ。
Girls can't be kings.
女の子が当たりだったらお姫様になれるんだよ。
If a girl wins, they get to become the princess. Oop.
アーモンド。アーモンドが当たり。
The one with the almond wins. Right, right?
そうだな。
That's right.
エンジェはすごいな。
You're incredible, NJ.
こういう時はくじ運がものを言うんや。
In times like this, luck can tell you something about a man.
負けへんで。
Can't let myself lose now.
お待ちなさいよ。
Hold up there.
小さい子から順に選ぶといいわ。
Let the small kids choose first.
それがいいですね。
Good idea. NJ, you can go first.
こら、マリアはお姉さんでしょ。
Hey, you're the big cousin
エ
now,
ンジェ
Mario.
ちゃんを先にしなさい。
Let NJ go first.
エンジが当たりを引いちゃったらどうするの？
What if NJ wins? Oh,
エンジが当たりを引く。
I'm gonna
アー
win.
モンドが当たり。アーモンドが当たり。
The almond wins. The almond wins.
私たち年寄りは残り物に福があることを祈りましょう。
Seems we old fogies must hope that leftovers are lucky today.
若い順ということはビリは金蔵であるよな。
I guess if we're going by age, that means Kinzo's last.
そな
With
たは
Beata's
繊
magic, of
細
course.
であろうが。
Any wish will be granted. Exactly. Aren't you 1,000 years old?
納得ゆかん。
Everyone burst out laughing. Her real age was unknown, but she claimed to be 19. In front of NJ lay a large cake split into several pieces. Just one of those pieces was the winner.
さあ、エンジェ様。
Oh, then NJ-san.
どのケーキになさいますかな？
Which piece would you
ど
like?
れを選んでもほっぺたが落っこちるほど美味しいで
Whichever
す
you
よ。
choose, it will be ever so delicious.
やだ。
Oh
当
wait,
たりのじゃないとやだ。
I only want the winning one.
じゃあ、一発で当ててみせるしかないな。
I guess you'll have to try and guess right on the first shot.
ほら、選べ選べ。
Pick one. Battler pushed NJ's small back towards the table with the cake.
どれにしようかな。
That was a cute Dore Nishio Kana. That was a cute line. Which one should I take? The chocolate cake was cut into 15 pieces. I want to pick the one with the almond and become the princess. One of them has an almond. Which could it be? Oh, that's tough. They all look identical, and that looks like a cake with some serious effort put into it. I get to choose first, but it feels sort of unfair. I mean, it is, isn't it? My chances of getting the right one are 1 in 15. There's no way I'll get it. And then when Maria Onei-chan goes after me, she has a 1 in 14 chance of picking the winner. The next person has a 1 in 13, 1 in 12, and the last person wins for sure.
お兄ちゃん、これずるい。
Any chances?
最初に選ぶ人の方が不利。
Harder for the person who goes first. Everyone laughed. Apparently there was something wrong with my calculations, but I still didn't like it.
さあ、エンジェ様から運試し。
Let's start this contest of luck with Ange-sama. Yeah, but they have to go after someone's had a 1 in 15 chance of success. That's the problem.
どうぞどうぞ、お選びください。
Please feel free to make your selection.
うーん。
Okay.
うーん。
If I have to pick one out of so many, there's no way I'll win. But for some reason, tonight it feels like I might actually win after all. I have no reason for feeling this way, but when I'm in a good mood, Lady Luck always brings me fortune.
ほら、決まったか？
Have you decided yet?
うん。
Yeah.
決まった。
I've
これ
decided.
が当たり。
This one's the winner. I concentrated on my fingertip and pointed at one of the 15 slices. The slice I chose was... Here's a slice. I tried to... I tried to right-click and save, because it suddenly gave me interaction. And it didn't give me the option to do so. That's annoying. Oh well. I guess we'll do the smart thing and go to System, Save, and save in a new slot right now. In the event they give us any more options. This one.
これでございますね。
Are you sure?
よろしいです。
もう決めたの？
Because right-click is this interface. I tried to do that, and it instantly snapped to a spot and made a selection. You made up your
これがい
mind?
い？
I want this one. When he asked me whether I was sure, I felt a bit uneasy. Still, at times like this, it's better to stick with your instincts. It was one of the few bits of philosophy that this young girl had learned from her few life experiences. Goda took the chosen slice, put it on a plate with a fork, and handed it to Ange.
次はマリアね、マリア。
Go next.
どれにしようかな。
What should I take? What should I take? It was Maria's turn next. She was excited, determined to be the winner. I walked away from the group all by myself. I was struck by a temptation to quickly cut the cake open and check for an almond inside, however I stopped myself. If I check my piece first, my chance of winning is 1 in 15. However, if I wait for some other people to check their slices, then when I see that they've lost, my chances will go up, if only slightly. In other words, instead of searching for the almond right away, my chances go up if I wait for some other people to lose. But if someone picks a winner while I'm sitting there, the chance of my slice being a winner will go to 0. It's really tough to calculate the right moment. I just need to wait long enough for as many losers to show up as possible. My chances of winning are highest if I check my piece immediately before someone else wins. That's the trick to winning this game. What a strange thought. It feels like I'm missing something? Even though no one else can touch the cake that's sitting in front of me, the almond inside it will appear or disappear, depending on whether or not the other people win or lose? I was in such a good mood I felt dizzy and couldn't figure out what was wrong with my theory. But I did realize something was strange. There's always just one truth inside a cat box. No matter what happens outside the box, it shouldn't be able to shake the truth inside. And yet I'm being shaken about by events outside the cat box, trying to use those to change the way I observe the contents of the box. That one didn't matter, presumably because Battler controls the outcome? Yeah. It's more of a warning light for all future interactivity. Save scum when you think there might be something coming up. Yeah, of course, of course. I don't even know what I'm saying. Another me inside me is trying to say that, but it's too hard for me to understand. I feel like I'm drifting. I got so cheery and excited that even though I'm not sleepy, my mind feels hazy. Maybe it's because I drank Dad's adult drink. In the end, even though I chose the first piece, I decided to check it last. After I've seen everyone else lost, my chances of winning will be 100%. I tried to find the contradiction in my thinking, but I didn't really get it, so I stopped. It's much better to have a 100% chance than 1 in 15, so I decided to bet on that. I couldn't wait to open this precious treasure chest, but I waited for everyone else to choose the pieces and check them.
どうですか?
How's it
当た
going?
りの出た方はいますか?
Any winners found?
マリアの入ってなかった。
I didn't have one.
私のも外れ
I
だ
lost
ぜ。
too.
お姫様になり損ねちまった。
Guess I'll have to give up on being the princess.
外れでも本当に美味しくて美しいザッハトルテだね。
Even if he loses, Sasha torch is really beautiful and
食べ
delicious.
ずに飾っておけるものならそうしたいくらいだよ。
It's such a good decoration, it's almost a shame to eat it. Little Ange's math is great. Don't you dare insult it.
どうだ
Rivaled only by Kyrie's magic math. That's true. She has everyone's power levels. Even the power levels of their magic down to a science. How about you?
あったか
Got the almond?
私もダメね。
Not me either.
秀吉兄さんはどう？
What about you, Hideyoshi Nissan?
わしも外れのようや。
Mine's a loser
会
too.
社に嫁に、もうわしの運は使い切っとるからな。
Looks like I used up all my luck with my company and my wife.
もうそれってどういう意味よ。
Mean by that?
南條先生はいかがですか？
What about you, Nanjo?
今調べてるところです。
I'm
た
checking it
まに
now.
はこういうのも楽しいですな。
Games like this could truly be fun every now and then.
うん。駆け引きなしの純粋な博打も実に面白い。
Sometimes a simple test of luck without any strategy or tactics can be quite
ベア
entertaining.
とは
What
ど
about
う
you,
であった
Beato?
か。
残り物に服があるなどと言った嘘つきは誰だ。
Where's the liar who said leftovers would be lucky?
エンジェはどうだ
What about you,
アー
Ange?
モンドはあったか
Was there an almond in yours?
今調べてる。
I'm checking now.
なんだまだ手をつけてなかったのか
But you still haven't touched yours? I'd been following my personal probability theory, but I didn't think I could explain it well to Onii-chan, so I didn't mention it to him. I wonder if there's an almond in here. If I win, I'll be tonight's princess. I'll be happy if I win, but even if I don't, it'll still be a really fun night, so that's okay. It got put on hold when this cake game started, but before then, everyone was having a lot of fun trading tricks, quizzes, and riddles. This game is fun too, but I want to play it like that again soon. I want to play like that again soon.
どうしたエンジェ
What's up, NJ?
お
I lifted up that tiny thing with my fork and stared at it, showing it to my brother.
これ、アーモンドだよね。
This is an almond, right?
おお
Oh.
エンジェのに入ってたのか
NJ got it.
すごいぜエン
That's
ジェ
amazing. At the same time, a stir arose from the other corner of the room.
あったわ。私のに当たりが入ってた。
I got one. I won.
ほう、エヴァが当てたか。
So Ava won.
これはこれは
My mind.
おめでとうございますエヴァ様。
Congratulations, Ava-sama.
違う。
That's wrong.
エンジェが当たりなの。
I
私がアー
won.
モンドなの。
Mine has the almond. I held the almond high and shouted across the room. The crowd around Ava split and everyone stared at me surprised. I was surprised too. The thing in her hand was without a doubt an almond.
なんだなんだ
What the heck?
こりゃどういうことだ
What's going on here?
5だ。
Go
アーモ
to.
ンドが2つ入ってるようだが、どちらも当たりなのか
There
ね。
appear to be two almonds. Are they both winners?
はてそんなはず
I
は。
shouldn't have.
どちらかが勘違いということでしょうか。
Does this mean one of the two winners made a mistake?
エンジェ様のは間違いなくアーモンドです。
Angie-sama's is clearly an
カノン
almond.
君、そっちは？
How about your end, Ken-kun?
エヴァ様のも間違いなくアーモンドです。
Ava-sama's is clearly an almond. Coda putting small bombs in the cake again. They're almond-sized bombs now.
では
Bombs now.
2人とも当たりということではありませんか。
親方様。
Master.
これは奇異なこともあるものだ。どうしたものか。
What's all this, Coda?
どうだよ。
そのこれはちょっとした手違いでございまして。
He had a bit of a mistake.
そのじゃんけんでもしてもらって。
Perhaps they should do rock, paper.
ケチくさいことを言うで
Don't
な
be
い。
stingy.
二つのアーモンドが現れ、女王と姫が選び出されただけの話ではないか。
It just means two almonds have appeared to signify the queen and the princess.
そういうことだ。
Precisely.
2人が当たりということで良い
Let's
で
have
は
them
ない
both be
か。
winners.
ま
Oh,
あ
but
しかし
Goda was hesitant. Actually, he'd prepared a single special dessert for the king. It had been decorated in a way that made it hard to split for two people, so it wasn't convenient for there to be two kings. And when Ava heard Goda mumbling something to this effect, she shrugged and laughed.
じゃあエンジェちゃんがお姫様になりなさい。
In that case, let's have Ange-chan be the princess.
お姫様。
The princess?
エンジェはお姫様なの？
I'm the princess?
私はその付き人よ。
I'll be your attendant. Don't eat the almonds, they're bombs. I'll be your attendant.
これならいいでしょ
That works, right? Of course it worked. Ange had been worried about Ava being declared the winner since she'd spoken up first, so she hadn't even dreamed Ava would give it to her.
でも、いいの
Are you
エ
sure?
ヴァおばさんも当たりなのに。
You want too?
いいのよ。エンジェちゃんの付き人になれたもの。
Okay, I get to be your attendant.
さあ、お姫様。
Come on, princess.
あなたが叶えてほしい願いは何？
What wish do you want granted? And real NJ starts
考
sweating
えてちょ
nervously.
うだいな。
Let's hear it.
エンジェは、願い事、もう決めてあるの。
I've already chosen my wish.
あら、
Oh?
それは何？
What's that?
おばさんに教えて。
Won't you tell your aunt? I want this fun time to keep on going forever. The young me spoke for the desire in my heart.
さっきまでの楽しいが、ずっと続いてほしいの。
We were doing before this is fun, so I'd like to keep doing it. I get the feeling that the nuance has changed. Still, that was unmistakably my wish.
さっきまでのって。
What were we doing before this?
あ
Oh, those
手品
tricks
と
and
かクイ
quizzes?
ズとか
Yeah.
じゃあ、こうしましょう。
Let's do
み
this
んな
then.
聞いて。
Listen up,
お
everyone.
姫様の命令よ。
It's an order from your princess.
ついさっきまでみんなが盛り上がっていたように、
Remember how much fun we were having
手
earlier?
品やクイズなどでエンジェちゃんを楽しませてあげてちょうだい。
Let's all entertain NJ-chan with tricks and quizzes.
おいおい。
Oh, hold up
もう
here.
手品のネタも尽きちまったぜ。
I already used up all my magic tricks.
ならクイズやなぞなぞね。
Let's do quizzes and riddles.
つまりみんなでいろいろなクイズで
We just need to
エン
entertain
ジェちゃんに
NJ-chan
楽
with
しんでもらう
quizzes.
ようにすればいいわけ
Just
かね。
entertain someone with quizzes and riddles, you say? Oh boy, it's time for some closed room murders. Beatrice rubbing her hands together, ready to roll. She's like, oh, this is perfect. My area of expertise.
お姫様に楽しんでもらえるクイズをみんなで献上するのですね。
We can all present quizzes for our princess to enjoy.
なるほどね。
I see.
了解したよ。
Understood.
あははは。なるほど。面白いではないか。
How
で
intriguing.
はエンジェよ。こうしよう。
NJ, let's do it this way.
みんなにクイズやなぞなぞを出してもらい、それに挑むがよい。
Everyone will give you a quiz or riddle and you can try to solve them.
見事解けるたびに、そなたにメダルを1枚与えよう。
Each time you succeed, I'll give you a medal.
メダルって
A medal?
記念メダルってことだろうな。
He probably means some sort of commemorative medallion. The real me starts sweating nervously.
いっぱい正解できればいっぱい集められるんだろうぜ。
You get a lot of puzzles right, you'll get a lot of medals.
ただ集めるだけではつまりませんね。
Gathering medals is a tad boring, don't you think?
うん。
Yep.
集めたメダルの枚数に応じて、私から素敵なプレゼントを送ってやろ
Depending on the number of medals you collect, I'll give you a fantastic present. Okay.
う。どうだ、がぜんやる気が出たであろう。
Do you suddenly feel fired up?
すごいじゃない。
That's amazing. Okay.
ご褒美まであるんですってよ。
So there's even a prize?
よかったわね、エン
Isn't
ジェ。
that great, NJ? Yeah. Everyone gathered around me, smiling. As they thought about what puzzle they'd give. They're all thinking about me so they can play with me. Just the feel of having all that all to myself almost made me explode with joy at becoming a princess. Or the princess, not just a princess, the princess. How was the riddle in this? How was the first Twilight in the second chapter performed? It's a multiple choice question. With, of course, B being very small bombs. I became the Halloween party princess, and the tournament of quizzes and riddles just for me began. It looks like I get a medal for each puzzle I get right. If I get a lot, I'm supposed to get a wonderful prize from grandfather. Okay, here we go. Who do I start with?
誰からでもいいそうよ。
I don't think it
好き
matters.
な人に話しかけてごらんなさい。
Whoever you like.
今のうちに何かとっておきの問題を考えておかないとね。
I better think of a killer puzzle while I have the chance.
マリア、あなたクイズの本をカバンに入れてなかった？
Maria, didn't you have a quiz book in your bag?
あるよ。
I do.
意地悪な問題でエンジェを
I'm
い
gonna
じめ
get
るの。
into a nasty one. Mario One-chan laughed with an evil smile. It looks like everyone's gonna try and bully me, and I'm sure they'll think up some really hard questions.
大丈夫よ。おばさんが助けてあげる。
Don't worry, I'll lend a hand.
本当？
Really?
ええ。だっておばさんはお姫様の付き人じゃない。
After all, I'm the
だ
princess
か
of the
ら
town.
二人で頑張っていっぱいいっぱいメダルを
Let's
集
give
め
it
ちゃおう。
all together and get a huge pile of medals. And
そう
before
そう
I get one
エン
medal.
ジェ様
Come now,
誰から
Ange.
でも結構でございます
Start
よ。
wherever
こ
you
の
want.
ゴーダもいつでも挑戦をお受けいたします。
Hi. Yoda, I'm ready to challenge you whenever you please.
まあ待て待て。
Not so fast.
最初に姫君に謁見する栄誉はこの
The honor
私のも
of
の
the
だ。
first audience with the princess
エ
belongs to
ン
me.
ジェよ。まずは私の挑戦を受け
Ange,
てみ
begin
よ。
with my challenge. Okay. I suddenly got tense and my stomach began feeling tight. Then Aunt Ava gently held my hand.
大丈夫よ。
It'll be okay.
一緒に頑張りましょう。
Let's do this together. Okay.
では行くぞ、エンジェよ。
Let's begin, Ange.
これはクリスマスの日の話。12月25日の話だ。
A story about December 25th, Christmas Day. Christmas? Okay.
クリスマス？
Yeah, that's my response. Christmas? This is Halloween themed. What are you doing? Even though it was October, he suddenly started talking about Christmas. Is he gonna ask what day Christmas is? I know that one. It's December 25th.
クリスマスの日。
On Christmas Day,
夜空を見上げながら女は言った。
a woman looked up at the night sky
や
and
が
spoke.
て夜が明けて朝になるわね。
Eventually the night will end and morning will
そして
come.
また日が沈んで夜になってもまたクリスマスだったらいいのに。
Wouldn't it be wonderful if after the sun sinks and it becomes night once more it could be Christmas again?
すると男は言った。
Then a man spoke.
いいよ。
Okay.
その夢を叶えてあげるよ。
I'll make your dream come true for you.
そんなことが果たして可能だろうか。
Is such a thing possible?
クリスマスの次の日は26日で普通の日だもん。
The day after Christmas is the 26th, a normal
そん
day.
なの無理。
Impossible. I know it's possible. I believe if you fly fast enough around the Earth, you could do that if you really wanted to.
夜が明けてもまだクリス
Still
マス。
Christmas, even after the sun rises. Oh,
お
I
ば
got
さん
it.
わかった。
Get in a plane.
どうして？
Sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Fly west.
どうしてクリスマスの次の日がまたクリスマスなの？
But wasn't it okay, she says, how can the day after Christmas be Christmas again? And she says, specifically, eventually night will end, morning will come. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the sun sinks and becomes night, it could be Christmas again. So I'm gonna say, yeah, just get in a plane.
エンジェも考えてみるがよい。
Christmas Day, a woman... Okay, puzzle. On Christmas Day, a woman looked up at the night sky and spoke. Eventually, night will end, morning will come. Oh, you can actually save here. Interesting. I wasn't thinking I'd actually be able to save here. I'll save just for the sake of it, but I think I got the answer right anyway. Wouldn't it be wonderful if after the sun sinks, it becomes night once more? It could be Christmas again. And the man speaks, I'll make our dream possible. Is such a thing possible? It is possible. Oh wow, that's loud. That is loud. Listen to that click. My ears. I'm saying it's possible. I see, I see. It's possible.
そうそう。
That's right.
一日の間に夜って2回あるのよね。
After all, there are 2 nights in every day.
12月25日は真夜中の午前0時から始まる。
December 25th starts at midnight.
午前0時は夜だから、それが最初の夜。
Midnight's during the night, so it's the first night? That's wrong.
それから朝になってまた夜になっても夜中の12時まではまだ同じ日。
When night falls again, it's the same day until midnight.
そういうこと。
Exactly. That's not what I was thinking, but
その
okay.
どちらの夜も確かにクリスマスの日の夜よね。
Both those nights are nights on Christmas Day.
エンジェすごい？エンジェすごい？
Am I awesome? Am I awesome? With a delighted smile, Ava patted my head vigorously.
おほはは見事であるぞエンジェ。
Well done.
難しい問題のつもりだったのにあっさり解かれてしまったわい。
Yeah, there is another solution for this, right? You could move via a plane to manipulate the location of the sun. You could also solve it with you could also sum it by finding an area near the north-south pole, right? Where the sun basically never sets. So when the sun rises and comes back, will it be Christmas again? You say, yeah, absolutely, because it only ever does so once per year. That works too. By adding a lot of time. You just have to live in a polar location for like an entire year to make it happen. Yeah, that works. Well done, Ange. I tried to make it a hard question, but you solved it like it was nothing. Yeah, that one wasn't too bad.
おめでとうございます。
Congratulations, Ange-sama.
これが第一問正解の
Here's the
メダル
medal for
で
getting
ご
the
ざい
first
ます。
question right. Okay, we got one. Genji held out a gold-colored medal. Grandfather smiled at me, urging me to take it.
ありがとう。
Thanks.
その調子で頑張るがよい。
Keep up the pace.
さあ、私の出題はおしまいだ。
Well, that's it for my puzzle.
向こうへ行き、好きな人に話しかけてクイズを出してもらうがよい。
Head over there and ask whoever you choose for a quiz. It was a heavy gold-colored medal. If I get a lot of these right, my pocket might burst. I'm gonna get so many I can brag about it to everyone. After bowing to grandfather, I hurried off with Aunt Ava to where everyone else was gathered. You have 1 medal. Yay! Kinzo watched Ange go with a warm gaze. There's gonna be a lot of saving. There's gonna be a lot of saving.
ちょいと簡単すぎたか
Did I
な。
make it too easy?
いいえ、
No.
ちょうど良かったと思います。
I think it was just right.
現地、私は良いおじいちゃんを演じられただろうか。
Have I managed to act the part of a good grandpa?
無論でございます。
Of course.
エンジェは幼い。
Ange is young.
そして体調を崩し、ロッケン島へ来ないことも多かった。
She frequently grows sick and is unable to come to
私
Rokkenjima.
をよく覚えてはいないだろ
She probably won't remember very well. Young children have their own kind of cruelty. They think of kindness as something they'll naturally receive. And because they think of kindness as only natural, they forget about it quickly.
親の恩と同じです。
It's no different from gratitude to one's
それを
parents.
理解するには、エンジ様もお年を重ねられる必要があるでしょう。
う。やがては私のことを面白いおじいちゃんだったと
You think
思
she'll
い出して
eventually
く
remember
れ
I
る
was a
だ
fun
ろうか。
grandpa?
はい、
Yeah,
必ずです。
I'm certain of it. Kinzo's expression grew slightly darker. Eventually, even Ange will get older, and she'll probably hear how the public at large regards Ushiromiya Kinzo. The Ushiromiya Kinzo known by the public is completely different from the Kinzo that plays with his grandchildren. When she learns, will Ange remember the face of Kinzo the Tyrant known by the world, or that gently smiling face?
できるなら私の笑顔を思い出してほしいが
I'd hope she remembers my smile, if possible, but such a thing is probably too much to ask for.
仕方あるまい。
There's no way
子
around
供
it.
とはそういうもの
That's
だ。
what children are.
ベアとか
Oh, it's you.
子
Beato.
供は優しさに飽食し、それを決して記憶にとどめぬ。
Children just eat up kindness and it never remains in their memories.
あれが
Ew.
12年を経れば、後宮金蔵がどれほどの
Oddly
奇
specific
人
number.
変人であったかを知る
By
だ
the
ろう。
time 12 years have passed, she will surely learn what a bizarre, eccentric Ushiromiya
そ
Kinzo
れ
was.
に塗りつぶされ、そなたの笑顔など忘れ去られる運命よ。
Your smile is fated to be painted over by that and forgotten.
であろうな
Oh,
いくら
probably.
甘やかせど報われぬ愛である
No matter how much I spoil her, my love will not be rewarded.
だが、
But
親の恩を思い出すのに長い時間をかけるように、
just as it takes a long time to remember what you owe your
エンジも
parents,
やがて
Ange will
きっ
surely
と
remember
思い
it
出すだろ
someday.
う。そなたが孫にどのような笑顔で
She'll
接
remember
し
the
ていたの
smiles you
か
showed
を
her.
忘れてもよい
Let her forget.
ただ一時私に向けて微笑んでくれただけで
Smile
私
from
に
her
は
is the
何
greatest
よ
parting
り
gift
もの
I
メ
could
イド
ever
の
take
土
with
産
me
になるのだ
when my time comes.
これが無償の愛の境地である
Essence of unrewarded love.
祖父とは報われぬ存在であるな。
The essence of unrewarded love turns around and is like, you mean like Shannon? You mean like Shannon Battler? Oof. I guess grandfathers are always unrewarded.
報われておるとも
But I have been rewarded.
先ほどのエンジェの微笑みが思い出せれば
With NJ's smile just now to look back
私
upon.
は今夜お迎えが来ても一向
I
に
could
構
happily
わ
pass on in my
ぬ
sleep tonight. With a lonely laugh, Kinzo spun around, letting his cape fluttering. This was all the love he could offer NJ as a grandfather. Part of him wanted to be remembered, but he knew he mustn't wish for that. That was how unrewarded love worked. After looking at Kinzo's back, Beato stared at NJ's back
エ
again.
ンジェ、それでもいつか
Even
思
so,
い出してやれ。
please remember it someday.
金蔵がそなたに
Remember the smile that
どんな
Kinzo
笑
once
顔を
showed
見
you.
せていたのかを。
Okay. What's the next quiz? Whose quiz should I take next? I'm going to challenge more and more people, get more and more medals for everyone, getting them right, and get a wonderful present to show everyone. Kraus and Natsuhiro are over there. They're looking this way and smiling. I'm sure they thought up some interesting puzzles. Hideyoshi beckons for me to come over. He's a fun uncle. I'm sure he's thought up a fun question. Mom and Dad are across from him. They're waving at me, telling me to have lots of fun. Dad probably knows a lot of really hard questions. He might be tough. Over there is Aunt Rosa and Maria One-chan. Looks like they're reading a quiz book together, searching for a problem. Every now and then, Maria One-chan glances over at me, saying, She could be mean sometimes. I'm sure her puzzle won't be a nice one. Beyond them are Battler Oni-chan, George Oni-chan, Jessica One-chan. Battler Oni-chan is usually nice, but he sometimes says really mean things, and I think he likes seeing me get confused. I get the feeling he'll give me a really tough problem. Is there anyone who looks like they won't be mean? If I can, I'd like to start with an easy puzzle to warm me up. Over there are Genji and Dr. Nanjo. I don't think they'll be mean to me. There's Canon and Shannon. Shannon knows a lot about quizzes and fairy tales. I'm sure she'll give me something unique. We have Goda and Kumasawa who are serving tea. Kumasawa-san might be tough. I think she'll give me a real confusing problem. It looks like everyone might be pretty tough.
エンジェちゃん、
Ange-chan.
とっておきの問題を用意したで。
I got a good one for you. I guess we're going with Hideyoshi
こっ
then.
ち来てや。
Over here. Uncle Hideyoshi calls for me. I thought I'd get to pick. I keep thinking I'm going to get to pick, and then they just force me into... they just railroad me into the next quiz. What should I do? Should I go?
秀吉おじさんのところ行ってみる？
Gonna try Uncle Hideyoshi?
順番なんて関係ない。
Order doesn't
だって
matter.
私は 全員に挑戦するんだから。
After all, I'm gonna challenge everyone. I rolled up my sleeves and headed towards Uncle Hideyoshi. Yeah.
よく来たな。わしのは難しいで。
Mine's a tricky one, okay? Oh wait, we can save on the quiz menu. Why am I saving here?
あなたが出す問題ってどんなのかしら。あまり難しすぎるのを出
Don't
し
make
ちゃ
it
ダ
too
メ
hard,
よ。
okay? Actually, didn't we have... Oh, Beatrice and Ange are here. Hold up. Beatrice, the golden witch who lived for 1,000 years, surpassed the limits of humans, and like demons, will sometimes appear in response to summons made by humans to offer power in exchange for a price. She's been called here for a ceremony involving the return of a vast amount of gold, which the Ushirmiya family received from her grandmother. Rokkenjima no longer has any need for the old arguments and tragedies. And of course, Ange, Rudolph and Kyrie's daughter, Battler's younger sister from a different mother. She gets sick easily, but managed to get better just in time to attend this year's family conference. She's so happy this year, surrounded by her beloved family and friends. On the flip side, do we have anyone else? Nope, nothing else on the... Nothing magical going on here. Just remembered seeing that from when we were saving earlier. Don't make it too hard, okay?
難しくてもいい。
It's okay if it's hard.
だかも。
I'll solve it.
おお、頼もしいことや。
Ooh, looking confident
ほ
there.
な、行くで。
Alright, here it comes. After clearing his throat, Uncle Hideyoshi started telling his question.
わしのはな、
Mine's a riddle.
謎やで。ええか。
Listen closely now.
桃太郎の話は知ってるやろ。
You know the story of Momotaro, right? Vaguely, yes.
川から桃がどんぶらこ？
The boy who floated down a river in a peach? That's how it started.
そや。
Right.
しかしな、その川には甘栗が流れてきたんや。
You know, one day an apple floated down that river.
甘栗？
An apple?
そうや。
Yep.
そしたら次の日にはな、
The next day, a
イオカン
butternut
が流れ
squash
てきたん
floated
や。
down it. Okay. Apple into butternut squash. Okay.
イオカン酸っぱいから嫌い。
I hate butternut squash.
その次の日にはな、
Next day, some
今度
cabbage
は
floated down it.
その次の日には枝豆が、
The next day, a dill pickle did.
その次の日にはオ
The next
ク
day,
ラ
an
が、
eggplant floated by. I'm seeing a pattern.
その次の日には
Next day, a
柿
fig.
が流れてきたんや。
The next day, okay, so cabbage, dill pickle, eggplant, fig. What's next? A gourd? A grape? Grapefruit? I'm guessing that something with G is next. Oh, okay, we're not going. Something with G should be next. These are alphabetical so
変
far.
な話よね。
What a strange tale.
上流に八百屋さんでもあるのかし
Did a
ら。
green grocer live upstream or something? By the way, that was like A, B, C, D, E, F. I was predicting F when Fig came around in my head. And when I saw the Fig, I was just like, it has to be G. So it's going to be something G themed. What's another G themed word?
さて、
Here's
問
the
題や。
question.
その次の日に
What
は
floated down the river the next day?
何が、
おば
Could be a
さ
G,
ん。
right?
わ
Ava's
かっ
got it.
た。エンジェちゃんはわかる？
Did you get it, NJ-chan?
わかんない。
Any G. If it's a multiple choice, again, it should be any G starting fruit.
じゃあヒントをあ
I'll
げ
give you
る
a
わ
hint.
ね。
It starts with G.
流れてきたものにはちゃんと順番があ
There's
る
a
のよ。
pattern to the things that float down the
何
river.
の順番かわかる
Can
か
you
し
guess
ら？
what the pattern is? The butternut squash was an extremely unusual choice, which made it immediately stand out, I think.
そら大ヒントやな。
Actually, I wonder, should I wait until I give the answer so people can consider this? Because the question wasn't finished at being asked, and I came up with the answer. What flowed down the river the day after that? An onion, lettuce, or a grapefruit? Okay, so I'll read this. One day, an apple. Next day, butternut squash. Next day, cabbage. Next day, dill. Next day, eggplant. Next day, fig. First letter of every object is alphabetical, so it should be... Oh my god, that's so loud. I'm not going to scroll over those. Unless I'm intentionally picking one. Grapefruit.
わかった。キャベツ。
Grapefruit.
そう正解
That's
よ。選択肢にはなかったけど、キュウリでもきっと正解ね。
It wasn't one of the choices, but green beans would have worked too. The names all followed the alphabet. Apple was A, butternut B, cabbage C. It kept going with C, D, E, and F. After F comes G. That's why the answer had to be something that started with a G. Green beans. I wouldn't have guessed green beans. I was thinking of like fruits and veg. Green beans are a vegetable. What am I talking about? I guess they could have been that, but it wasn't coming to mind. I had like I was like snow peas. In my head I was like what's something good? What else? What is something else I could get? And I was going through fruits and vegetables. I couldn't find anything else. Incredible. Grape and gourd were the first two things that came to mind.
Yeah.
Nice work. User medal for getting it right. Hideyoshi took out a gold-colored medal and placed it on my palm. Where are they getting these? It felt heavy in my hand. This is what victory feels like. I better keep it up. You got one medal. Okay, got a couple more quizzes. I've got another medal for Eva's puzzle. I'm not gonna be like Erica in the future. I'm gonna say I've got it if I think I've got it. But I'm not gonna say anything until the actual puzzle screen shows up. I think that's more fair, right? You got another medal for Eva's puzzle. But I can't think of any more. Maybe I should give Ange-chan a puzzle? You will? Sure. How about a quiz for the princess from her? I thought of a fun one. Please have a go at it. Aunt Ava smiled brightly. I want to get as many medals as possible, so of course I want as many chances as I can get. Okay, I'll have a go at it. That's the spirit. Alright, here it comes. It's quiz time, boys. We talked how much I love to travel, haven't we? Yeah. Hey, do you like traveling overseas a lot? Right. This is a travel puzzle. There's a traveler in a certain place. Okay, a traveler. First, the traveler walked 5 kilometers north. Okay? Do I need to write this down? Don't worry, don't worry. Puzzle's not that hard. Listening will be enough. Okay, 5 north. He repeats it. The traveler first walked 5 kilometers north. Then 5 kilometers to the east. Then 5 kilometers south. Okay. Yep. Yep. Like a blocky N?
そういうことやな。
That's right.
スタート地点から東に 5km の地点にいる計算になるで。
So he ends up at a spot 5 kilometers to the east of where he started. That's what you'd think, right?
なんと旅人はスタート地点に戻ってしまっていたの。
But incredibly, this traveler ended up in the exact same spot he started.
こんなおかしなことってありえると思う？
Is something so mysterious possible?
そんなことあるわけないで。方位磁石がいかれたんとちゃうか？
Compass must have gone crazy.
そんなのじゃないわよ。
Of course it didn't. Five north, right? And 5 east. 5 north. 5 east, 5 south. Do you know Ange-chan?
わかる？
I have an idea, but I don't know if that works. What answers are we getting?
方位磁石のせいじゃないの？
Was it because of his compass?
これは謎謎？
Is it a play on words?
いいえ、ちゃんと
No,
し
it's
た
a
ク
real
イズ
quiz.
よ。
For a hint.
ヒントはね、地球儀でよく考えてみて。
Don't you start thinking about a globe? Another hint. Okay. So I am thinking about a globe. I'm trying to think of if I know you can travel to the same place you ended up by moving in 3 directions. I'm just trying to remember if it was northeast, north, straight east, and then south. Oh, we're in the southern hemisphere. That would work. Shit. Oh, it's supposed to be not saying anything. This place does exist. What sort of place is it? What? I don't think... Does this work in the North Pole? I think this is the South Pole, right? So my thought is, if I start at the South Pole and travel north, then go 5 kilometers east and then go 5 kilometers south, I end up at the South Pole. Right? Or I end up at approximately the same location. And I think that works anytime I do that. Until I go into the northern hemisphere. I think if I'm in the southern hemisphere this works, but I don't know how that answers the hot place. I think the answer is a very cold place then. I'm leaning towards a cold place. I think a hot place doesn't work because that would be like the equator. And if you're near the equator, that's really not going to work. So I'm going to put the answer as B. Oh, hold up, I will save. I'm like 85% certain this is correct. That's this. Like, I see where it is. I'm just making. I'm clicking B. Okay. It's B, a cold place. South Pole, right? It's a really cold place. If they just asked if it was possible, I would have told them yes. My problem was I was starting with I was starting with the wrong movement. It doesn't work anywhere except the exact South Pole. Yeah. So my problem was, my first thought was to do this, because I live in North America. My first thought was to use the North Pole for this, and I was like, that doesn't fucking work. You don't end up at the same place. I was like, you have to cross over one of the poles to make that work, and you can't do it with the North Pole. So I was stumped for like, while I was reading it, I was just like, the heck is she doing this? South Pole tricks. God damn it. It's a really cold place. Must be incredibly cold there.
大正解！すごいわ。エンジェちゃんの年でわかるなんて本当に天才よ。
Ange-chan, you must be a genius to get something like that at your age.
南極点がスタート地点だったなら、北に進み東に進んでもそれは南極点に対して円を描いて回ってるのと同じや。
If you start at the South Pole, and after you go north, going east just draws a circle around the South Pole? Yep.
だから南へ進めばまた南極点に戻るだけの話っちゅうわけや。
Anytime you head south again, that just takes you right back to the South Pole?
とっておきの難しい問題のつもりだったんだけど、エンジェちゃんは本当にすごいわ。
It was just too good.
おめでとさんや。
Congratulations.
ほな、これがもう一枚のメダルや。
Here's another medal for you. I got a heavy gold-colored medal. 3 out of 15? Alright, we did it. Aunt Ava and I held our fists in celebration. Or wait, how many is there people? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Yeah, 4 times 5. We got a few more than... Wait. Oh, the servants weren't included in the cake. But they're included everywhere else. Right. Okay. Well, we got a lot of quizzes ahead of us. That's all I gotta say. Holy shit. Aunt Ava and I held our fists in celebration.
さ、これでわしらの問題はおしまいや。
That's it for all our puzzles.
他の人に問題を出してもらうといいで。
Go ask one of the others to give you one. So this is gonna be a long ass puzzle section if we have to do all these. Holy crap. Thank you, Uncle Hideyoshi.
エヴァおばさんは賢い
Your
で。
aunt's really clever.
二人一緒ならメ
Two
ダ
you
ル
together.
ザックザクや。
You'll be getting medals left and right.
そうよ。
That's
ザッ
right.
クザクよ。
一緒に頑張ろうエヴァおばさん
Do our best together, Aunt Eva. I dashed away. Who will I ask next? Hideyoshi waved goodbye, smiling. I got a medal. Awesome. Hideyoshi and Eva watched as NJ ran off happily, looking for the next quiz.
あんなにも可愛らしい笑顔を浮かべられる子なのに。
Even though that kid wears such a cute smile,
私が
I'll be the one who takes the
そ
away
れを
from her.
奪うのね。
エヴァ。
Eva. Eva hung her head. A single tear sparkled in her eye.
彼女の気持ちを考えれば、それは当然のことなのよ。
Her reaction's only natural considering how she felt.
私はそれを受け止めきれなかった。
But I wasn't able to see past it and accept her feeling.
しゃあない。
It can't be helped.
お前かて人間や
You're
で。
as human as anyone else.
そうそう人間割り切れるもんとちゃう。
Humans tend to be more fragile than you'd think.
それでも、私が悪いのよ。
It was my fault.
仮にも一時を育てた母だったのよ。
After all, I already had the experience of bringing up a child, right?
あの子の母親に、
Should have
私
become
は
her
なる
mother.
べきだった。なのに、私は悲しみに溺れ、それをしなかった。
I let sadness overwhelm me and didn't do it at all.
しゃあないしゃあない。
Can't be helped, I tell you.
お前だけが悪いわけとちゃうで。
Don't think you're the only one at fault. Blame the Chuck's Notes 6-year-old. Yeah,
そんな
okay.
に自分を責めたらあかん。
You shouldn't blame yourself so much. By now, Ava was unable to hold back her sobs. Large tears dripped down her cheeks as she stared at the ground and shook.
私は、
What a
なん
sin
て
I've
罪を。
committed.
悲しいのは、私もあの子も全く同じだった。
My sadness was no greater than hers. Ava, I'm still on the not really feeling sorry for Ava. Ava, and it's not even a question of who shot first. Ava shoots first. Ava shoots first and feels bad about it, that it led to people dying.
なのに私は、
And yet I
自
decided
分の方が悲しいと決めつけて、
I was suffering the most, so I
あ
didn't
の子の
accept her
気持
feeling.
ちを全く受け止めなくて。
Ava living the storyline that's just well, as if it isn't the consequences of my own actions and whining about it. Oh boy. I'm a
母
failure of a
失格
mother.
なんだわ。あの子の母になって
I wasn't able to become
あ
a
げら
mother
れ
for
な
her.
かった。
いいえ。あなたは頑張ってくれたわ、エヴァ姉さん。
Did your best for her, Ava
キ
Nessa.
リエさん。
Kirie-san. Kirie and Rudolph were standing behind Ava
あ
now.
なたがエンジェと打ち解けようと、いろいろな努力をしてくれたことを
I
知っ
know
て
the
いるわ。
lengths you went to keep the truth from NJ. Also, surprisingly, both of these people are terrible shots.
姉貴はよく耐えてくれたぜ。
Terrible shots. You held out well,
そんな姉貴
Aniki.
の苦労も知らず、うちの娘が本当に迷惑をかけたな。
Guess that daughter of ours really has been a pain, and clueless about how much you suffered. After the incident on Rokkenjima, Ava, the only one who left Rokkenjima alive, adopted NJ, the girl who'd been absent and survived. While they would eventually develop a sad and mutually painful relationship, it wasn't like that at first. Ava tried to show affection for NJ, her last remaining blood relative. She tried to become NJ's new mother. She tried to become it, even as she fought back the sadness she herself felt. However, NJ wasn't able to accept that kindness. She lashed out at Ava, the only one who had returned alive, for stealing her parents away from her. Ava, understanding the wounds that the 6-year-old girl bore, withstood these attacks. She grit her teeth and poured all her affection onto NJ. Affection went unignored. However, the wounds Ava herself bore were also extremely deep. She was never rewarded for her sad efforts, and for future in front of her grew dark.
あなたはエンジェにジョージ君に注いだのと同じ愛情を与
You
えよ
tried
う
to
として
show
くれ
NJ
た
the same affection you once showed George-kun.
でも、 それは私だけの独りよがりで、エンジェちゃんには全く届かなかっ
Ange
た。
never felt any of it. No, we read that part of the scene. We read the part of the scene where Beato walked up to her where Beato killed Rosa and Maria after Ava was torturing them for like 30 minutes. She kills them like 2 bajillion times, and then Beatrice steps in and is like, just fucking kill them, and ends it. Or was that Rudolph and Kyrie? You know what? I don't remember. I'm pretty sure that's what happened, where Beatrice was just like, this is getting sick, we're ending this. That was the magical interpretation of the scene in episode 3. I thought it was that one. Or was it? Yeah, it was one of those 2 murders Beatrice intervened in.
それを受け止めなかったのはエンジェだ。
Ange was the one who couldn't accept
姉
it.
貴のせいじゃない。
It isn't your fault.
6歳のエンジェちゃんにそれを求めるなんて酷よ。
Who could possibly ask that of Ange-chan when she was just 6 years
それ
old?
でも私は気持ちを伝えられるよう
I should have held out much longer
耐え
until
な
she
けれ
could
ばならなかった
understand
の
my
に。
feelings.
エヴァ姉さん、
Eva
これだけ
Nisa,
は信じて。
I want you to believe one thing.
私たちはあなたを責めてなんかいないのよ。
Don't blame you in the slightest.
キリエさん。
Kirie-san.
エンジェのために深く深く傷ついてくれて。
Thanks so much for suffering so long for Ange's
あの
sake.
子に人の心があるなら
That kid has a human heart. I'm
いつか
sure
必
you'll
ず
recognize the affection you
あな
showed
た
her
が注いで
someday.
くれ。
ありがとう。
Thanks,
俺たちは
Anarchy. We'll
い
always
つ
be
までも
grateful.
感謝して
よかったな、お前
Isn't
の
that
頑
wonderful,
張りは
Ava?
な。
Your efforts haven't gone unnoticed. There
い
were
か
no
が
lies
です
in
か
it.
エンジェ
How are you
様
doing, Ange-sama?
よろしければぜひこのゴーダにも
There are no
挑
lies
戦
in
し
what
てい
was
ただけま
told.
せんか。
Is a very dubious statement considering all we saw was like 30 minutes of magic, giving us no truth in what happened. So yes, there were no lies. There were no lies told. If there were no lies told, then it's also telling us that magical resurrection was a thing. So I'm like slightly dubious on that entire scene. If on that interpretation of that scene, if you want to say no lies were told via will. I'm pretty sure the immediate conclusion for Rosa's death in episode 3 was like what? Someone shoved Rosa and then strangled Maria to death. Ava like pushed Rosa into a fence, killing her, and then strangled Maria to death. That was the conclusion from the bodies. If you don't trust this game, why do you trust previous games? I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't. That's why I'm not very happy with the red text, because their red text can be ignored and contravened by just saying the red text doesn't count. All the previous games are written by someone. Exactly, right? You don't really know what to trust because they haven't established how the rules of even the red text work properly. I'm just citing what I saw from memory and what the I'm just citing what the scene showed from memory and what the character's conclusion was, because I believe the characters in the series concluded that that was what happened almost immediately, which is something I can objectively say is true, because I mean that's what they saw. Whether or not that's what actually happened is not clear. How are you doing, NJ? If you wish, I Goda would be pleased to challenge you. Alright, one more quiz.
このクマさんも難しい
Hi, Kumasawa.
いい
Have a
問題を
very
用意
tricky
しましたよ。
I'm ready for Kumasawa's puzzle. I'm
難しい
not.
問題でもへっちゃ
Doesn't matter how
ら。エン
hard
ジェ
it
一
is.
人だけじゃないもん。
I'm not alone.
エヴァおばさんと一緒に解くもん。
I'll start with Aunt Ava. Goda and Kumasawa offered to challenge me. I'll have to go up against everyone in the end, so it doesn't matter who comes next. I waved at Aunt Ava to hurry up, and she ran toward me.
今度はこの二人が出題
So we're challenging this pair next. Like, in any case, since we were given the truth in the previous arc, and she claims she accidentally shot someone with a gun, I'm gonna say I don't believe you. Like, I literally do not believe that someone can turn off the safety, point a gun at someone, and pull the trigger and say I didn't try to kill them. Like, that isn't just, like, something you magically do. Without love, it can't be seen. Of course, of course. So, we're challenging this turn next. Who will we start with?
じゃあ、ゴーダさん。
Okay, Goda-san.
はいはい、かしこまりました。
Very well,
そ
as
れ
you
で
wish.
は問
Here's
題
my
を出さ
puzzle.
せていただき
難しいですよ。
I warn you, it's a toughie.
それでも解く。
I'll still
コ
solve
ツ
it.
はもう分かったもん。
I've gotten the knack of it.
エンジェちゃんを甘く見ちゃダメよ
You better not underestimate it, NJ-chan. Right?
それはそれ
Am I?
それではゴーダらしく台所とお料理の問題を出させていただきます。
Being the humble chef that I am, here's a puzzle about food in the kitchen. Alright.
今度は共闘しましょう
We'll fight together this
わから
time.
ないときはおばさんを頼ってね
If you don't get it, just ask me to lend a hand.
何かヒントを出せるようにするわ
ヒントもらう
I'll
と
give you a hint.
メダルはもらえない？
Wait, hold up. She says, if you don't get it, ask me to lend a hand, I'll give you a hint. Okay. If I get a hint, does that mean I won't get a medal?
メダルとは関係ないからじゃんじゃん頼っ
It
て
won't
ね
affect your medals at all. Feel free to ask away. Whoa! Didn't even do it. Deliver it via dialogue. Just straight up gave it sit. Okay, well. Right-click save. The good ol'... Our good old save friend. In a witch's house, there is a magic kitchen. Every day it serves a freshly made meal for the witch when she returned at an appointed time. One day they had to work very late, and when she finally got home, all the food greeted her. Welcome home, great witch. I've made some vegetable stew for you, said the stew in the pot. Welcome home, great witch. Dip me in the stew and eat me, said the hard bread. Welcome home, great witch. You must be thirsty. Please drink me right away, said the white wine. Welcome home, great witch. If you eat me, the heat of the day will be wiped away, said the ice cream dessert. Which one's lying? The ice cream? Okay, so I'm gonna say the ice cream, because she worked late. And because the witch returned late, the ice cream should have melted. Right? That should be the most straightforward answer. It should be the ice cream. If it's anything else, I think it's wrong. I don't know what it would be if it was the other ones. I was thinking the bread might not want to be hard, but that one's not quite clear from the information. Yeah, bread would be my second choice. All right, it's super loud. Right, D. So I'm gonna say this one because it would have warmed up.
アイスクリーム。
The ice cream.
魔女は帰りがすごく遅かったんだから、その頃にはもう溶けちゃってる。
The witch got back really late. The ice cream would have melted. Ah, Ange used the same logic I did. It would have been warm ice cream. How would it wipe away the heat of the day?
だから食べられない。
So she couldn't eat it. I mean, you can. It's
さ
just not
す
very
が
good. Nicely
ど
done.
う
See, see?
エンジェちゃんは本当に賢いでしょ
NJ Chan's a clever girl, isn't she? I'm as smart as a 6-year-old, guys.
おめでとうございます。
Congratulations,
エンジェ
NJ-sama.
様。感服いたしました。
Very impressive.
このゴーダの 腕によりをかけた難問がこうもあっさり解かれてしまうとは。
Quickly you saw through the puzzle that I, Goda, put all my efforts into? Ah, yes, Goda. He probably makes black cherry ice cream. Because the cherries are bombs. Cherry bombs, get it?
全然簡
Black
単
cherry
だった
bomb
も
ice
ん。
cream.
エ
It
ヴ
was
ァお
totally
ばさん
easy.
の問題の方が難しかった。
Aunt Ava's puzzle was harder. Location versus temperature analysis? That depends.
ありがとう。
おめでとうございます。
Congratulations.
こちらが私の問題
Medal's
に
your
正
prize for
解し
answering
た
my
ご褒
question
美の
correctly.
メダルでございます。
Thank you. Alright, does Kumasawa give us a mackerel themed question? I kind of want to know this one now. Okay, that was easy. Now let's take a shot at Kumasawa-san's puzzle. We got one medal. Kumasawa, lay it on me.
次は私でございますね。
Looks like I'm up
では
next.
とっておきの難し
Let's
い
test
問題で
Ange-sama,
エンジェ様を試してみましょうね。
my specially made super hard puzzle. Okay.
では参ります
Are you
よ。
ready?
難しいって
How
どのくらい？
how hard is it? Around how hard is it?
それは挑戦してみてのお楽しみ。それでは私はサバのデザートの問題を出
And
し
now
ま
let
し
the
ょう。
mackerel dessert puzzle begin.
サバのデザート？
Of course it's mackerel themed. Come on, it's Kumasawa. We knew this was coming.
熊沢さんのこと、きっとおかしな問題に違いないわ。
Kumasawa we're talking about. You can bet it'll be a strange one.
注意してかかりましょ
Careful.
う。
I wonder what possessed the author of this to include like a massive 20 riddles segment in part 8. This seems so out of left field. I thought the like fragment rearranging in Higurashi was kind of weird, but it fit the plot. It fit the plot where they were like sort of going with it, where you have to build the right solution. And it was mostly like a trial and error for a few unusual ones. This is certainly an interesting series of questions. These quizzes are just completely random, and you're like, why is this quiz section here? Was this needed? Okay. The cook was in trouble. Dinner had been fully prepared except for dessert, but he had no ingredients except sabara, mackerel, and leftovers. Okay. Then the cook had a flash of inspiration. By changing just a single letter, he could make a grand dessert out of those letters. What letter did he change? What letter did he change? Sabara. Oh, I'm changing Sabara. Okay, so... You need to make it it's a dessert or some other food item from Sabara by replacing any one of the letters. Or any one or more of the letters. Huh. Well, I mean, you can replace 1 to 3 A's, the S, the B, and the R. The S, the B, or the R. Huh. So I need to make a new food. The translation seems to be fine, but what I'm making is not clear. Is there a kind of cake I can make by replacing the S? Is there a kind of cake I can make? By changing a letter, he can make a grand dessert out of the leftovers. It's just one letter being changed. He's not rearranging them. I was gonna say, if he replaced the A's, he could probably, and rearrange it, he could probably make sorbet, I think. S-O-R-B-E-T, yeah. You can make sorbet if you change the, if you changed all the A's. But it says a single letter, and it didn't rearrange them, right? So I'm not gonna go with A. Sabara. Sabah. I want to see, like, he changes the S to something, but I don't know what I'm changing it to, like a C? I'm gonna have to look up dessert names for this one. This is a fucking weird choice. Let's see. Place in France. The bar is a place. Have a I don't think I know the answer to this one. Wait, is Satara? No, I don't think that's spelled right. I think that is image? Yeah, that's an Eurasian. See, the problem isn't that I don't think it has a solution or that I couldn't brute force it. I think the problem is that I don't know if I would have the solution. I don't know if I would have the solution. Even if I had it in front of me, I'd be like, that's a food? I'm worried that's what it's going to be. Is it a common food as a dessert item? And I think the answer is no. It's just... Like, it could just be like some really straightforward Japanese dessert that I don't know off the top of my head. I only know a few. Read the question carefully. Dessert. Debera, a flash of inspiration. By changing a single letter, he would make a grand dessert out of those leftovers. Read the question carefully. Dinner had been fully prepared except for the dessert. He had no ingredients except for sabara, mackerel, and leftovers, and they cook in a flash of inspiration. By changing a single letter, he could make a grand... Oh, okay. There we go. There we go. Got it. Okay. That one took a minute. Nice play, nice play. The B is changing here. The B is changing. They'll explain in a second, but for anyone who didn't get it, the dessert, the first one was dessert. He's trying to make a dessert. The second one, which someone said read the question carefully to make it clear what the issue was that the second word dessert actually only had one S. It was actually make a grand desert, and Sabara goes to Sahara really easily. The answer is the letter B. If you change the B in Sabara to an H, you get Sahara. Correct. Oh, that's all fun. The last line said you can make a grand desert out of Sabara, not dessert. Yeah, that was pretty good. That would have been like 20 minutes. I figured out a trick in Japanese and English. Oh, awesome! Oh, awesome! So smart, Ange-chan. You deserve a pat on the head. I like it when you do that.
サバに「く」を足したらデザートにもなるなんて。
Just change a single letter and even mackerel can make a fine desert.
サバはすごいですね。
Are you starting to see the power of mackerel? A single letter in a mackerel can become a fine desert.
そんなダジャレでデザートをサバにした日には私の首が飛んでしまいそうです。
The day I'm forced to serve a joke like that for dessert, I imagine heads will roll. I wouldn't like it either. I like ice cream for dessert, not deserts. True.
大丈夫よね。
By the way, we shouldn't be worried, should we?
今日のデザート。
So what about tonight's dessert?
厨房でサバのフルーツパフェが皆さんを驚かそうと待ち構えておりますよ。
I can hardly wait to surprise everyone with a mackerel fruit parfait waiting in there in the kitchen. No, not a mackerel parfait, please. Everyone burst out laughing. For some time after that, I was tormented by the terrifying image of a parfait neatly topped with mackerel chunks.
これは残念。
In here, I thought that's something they'd actually serve in Japan. They got some really weird flavors there.
エ
What
ン
a
ジェ
shame.
様に素敵なご褒美をあげないよう邪魔をしてやろうと知恵を絞ったも
I
んだ
tried
が。
so hard to stop Ange-sama from getting that prize, but she solved my
とは
best riddle like it was nothing. Though she said that, Kumasawa-san smiled as a golden medal glittered in her wrinkly hand. Wow. Ange took it.
さあ、
Well then.
これで私たちの問題はおしまい。
この調子でどんどんメダルを手に入れて親方様から素敵なご褒美を
Keep up
獲
the
得して
pace,
ください
get
ね。
more and more medals, and win that splendid prize for the master.
ありがとう。
Okay, thank you. I'm so glad I only needed a minor hint for that and didn't have to straight up be told that. Makes me nervous for the next questions, though.
もっともっと頑張るね。
Thank
やった
you,
ね、
keep it
エヴァ
up.
おばさん。
We did it on it.
この調子でどんどん行きましょう。
I think that they did a good job with that one because they put you off track where the other ones all involved taking exactly what they gave you as literal. That one was play with letters. So where the other ones were all do exactly what they said and come up with a solution of if it's possible or not or how it was done. This one was take what they said, but it's playing around with the letters inside what they said, which is an interesting trick. Let's keep it up. All right, we rushed away. Okay, who to take on next? I don't know who we're taking on next. I'm not gonna find out, because we're gonna find that one out next time.